nice compressor. The reverb's nice. You don't need to worry about it.
There
Not
we
that I'm
go.
selling road stuff. If they want to send any shit,
Yeah, they're Australian too.
they are, man.
Just like the cameras, the fucking musician, the musician's guitar.
Yeah, the
great.
idea that you can't manufacture stuff is absolute bollocks, man. It was a lie we were sold.
I went to Rode the other day with a K2, which is a bigger diaphragm mic that they sell.
Yeah.
I bought a second-hand one, and I plugged it in. It was a bit of a buzz.
Yeah,
so I was like, I'm just going to take it in. And so I did. Took it to the factory, walked in, said, hey, I bought this second-hand.
Yeah.
What can we do? Oh, no worries. You know, they took it in. They put the whole new guts in it.
Shit.
Gave it back to me, new lead
Yeah.
into the power thing. Not a cent.
That
Not
is
bad.
fantastic.
Incredible.
Shout
company.
out to
Yeah,
Rhodes.
good on them.
And not only that, I got to talk with the actual guy who was doing the fixing, like the technician dude. And I love that. I
Yeah.
love talking to the guy who knows the microphone.
Yeah.
Because you can get to have a conversation about the way that the microphone's been used.
Yeah.
And where you might find weaknesses in it and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's great. I
You're
love
kind of learning something as well. Like,
it. You always learn.
it's always good to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, and I think also maybe that, it definitely shows that they're into microphones.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
love microphones. And I think what happens with a lot of companies is the CEO, gets a yacht in the Bahamas or some shit, and then the shareholders don't give a shit about it as long as they're making money. And so the actual thing they were good at becomes a sideline to making money.
Yeah.
And you got to make money. It's a capitalist system, but the product's the thing. You want people, making guitars that love bloody
Yeah.
guitars.
Yeah, the
Didn't-
thing they're
was it
passionate
Rode?
about becomes product.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
profit
yeah,
based.
yeah. I think it was Rode. I might be wrong. But didn't they buy a guitar like?
They did.
Was it Jimi Hendrix?
Nah, it wasn't even Jimmy. Man.
Whose was it?
It was bloody Kurt Cobain's
that was my
acoustic
next
guitar. The dearest guitar ever was like $6 million. Like, he's making some money, old Rhodes boys.
He's got to.
Yeah.
He's got to put it somewhere.
Good on him.
But yeah, of all the guitars, like, it should have been Jimmy's guitar. Or
Yeah.
if you're going to pay $6 million, not for Kurt's. He wasn't like I don't mind him. He's a great songwriter, but he's not really a guitarist.
Was it for a charity?
I think it was his charity.
Yeah.
I think it was. I don't know if he gave it away, but I think it was to promote something.
Right.
Yeah. Rode. And put a sticker on it.
Sign it. Yeah.
Well, at least it's not putting a Tesla into orbit.
No.
Yeah. Or drilling a hole in the ground.
Evidently with the Tesla, it's audacious, but they had to take something up anyway. Like they needed some ballast.
I know, right?
And that's what he said. But the photos of that Tesla in space, they just look so fake. And it's funny what Muskie said. He said, look,
What they do? Launch.
it's not just in space, it's on the way to Mars. It's
Yeah, I did
with the
hear
dude
that
in
on
it.
Rogan. Oh, someone got trying to
Yeah,
go to
he
Mars.
slept with Muskie's wife. That's the story.
See, dude.
Starman. Yeah, and it's playing Space Oddity on repeat, even though there's no sound waves in space, but evidently it's solar powered. And it's going to end up in Morbid.
Morbid.
That's what they're going to call Mars.
Morbid.
It's going to be Morbid. It's like urban.
Morbid Leo Beast.
Yeah. How do we get on there from guitars then? I'm not sure.
Companies.
But I
yeah.
put it in there. I threw the spanner. So.
Yeah, no. Well, it's
Spending a lot of money, I think.
yeah.
Got
Well, we
us on
should.
that.
I think have we
start
started
the show,
Yeah, we
yeah.
should start the show. We're here already. Are we going to do the intro?
No, I'll just cut it in.
No, click a finger.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, well
like
done.
Genie.
Can I get a beer then?
Yeah, right. We're back on the beers. Well, three of us are.
That's a great idea.
Poor Mark.
If you don't recognise this fellow over here, this baby face young assassin.
Yeah.
It's our Marky Mark.
Dwindling away.
He's dwindling
Got rid of
away.
the funky bunch. It was happening on the
Yeah.
front page.
No one knows any of Marky Mark's songs, but they know the band.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've never heard one of his songs.
No.
I only know him for abs, really.
Well, it's like Peter Andre. Peter
Yeah.
Andre had the abs, and then he thought, "Oh, I better get some of those." I was watching this great thing. Tonight's going to be we've got a musical guest and all that. We're definitely going to introduce Anthony soon. But just before I forget, my brother sent me this through with Joni Mitchell, one of the greatest musicians ever. Great songwriter from the '60s, but her career went right through until recently. And she was doing a world tour, just promoting her album. And the guy in New Zealand where this interview was said, "Oh, what do you think about this current state of music?" And this was in the mid-'80s. And she goes, oh, we're into the all good looks, no talent phase again. And she goes,
Again.
I've been through a few of these, you know, and when she said when rock first came out in the 50s, it was all talent, rock and roll, and it was all sex driven, man. And then the money got involved and it became pretty faces and doo-bop and all that nastiness got taken out of it. And then the Beatles happened, that rolled on, there was some good songwriting, and then the 70s kind of got all cock rocky and all that. And I think we've been in an all good looks, no talent phase for a while.
Oh, for sure.
Especially on the radio, man.
Yeah.
The accountants have really taken over.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, well, for that,
Economics.
for the economics of that, I suppose, you know, I was listening to a guy from the KLF, I don't know if you know, they're an old band from the 90s, and he was talking about all music from, let's say, the turn of the century, 1900s, can be classed as one music, and that music is recorded music. Before the 1900s, there was no recorded music.
Yeah.
A musician had to go tour or, you know, compose and sell these compositions because everyone had a piano. And but after the 1900s, with the advent of this, you know, bit of plastic basically that you can sell for a lot of money, the content on it, that's when all music tried to fit itself into this box of being recorded, you know. And so his personal journey is to try and do impromptu choirs around the world. And he'll go to, like, he went to Beijing in a market, and he got like 1,000 people together beforehand, and he did this impromptu choir, but it was a call choir right around Beijing, where just on, say it might be 50 meters, you can sing and you can just hear them, and this call went up right the way around Beijing of these 1,000 people doing this choir.
Wow.
You know, and
hell.
never to be recorded. And so he goes around doing these random choir events with non-singers and stuff. It's just you're trying to take back music from the recorded industry into something else.
I can't even imagine what logistics would be involved in
Oh,
getting
yeah.
1,000 people in a foreign country
Yeah.
to stand that far apart and sing the same thing.
It's fucking
I
incredible.
hope they
isn't it?
didn't pick La in Beijing. Yeah. Where's the button?
Oh, we got thanks for it.
Wow.
Might have missed it. There you go.
We got him. And
Well, if they were
just on
gonna-
the tone of recorded music, this should be our intro to...
Intro to Mr. Anthony Snape.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Yes,
coming on
and
to the
that's
show.
all.
We need a couple more songs out of you, yeah?
Yeah, we do. Maybe a little concert once we have a few more beers in it.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, well, I don't have
We'll
to
go
work.
for one, right?
Yeah.
Most of us are musicians here, right?
You can do some shadow boxing.
Someone needs a
No.
G chord.
In all fairness, Mark can play G and A minor.
Ain't mine.
There's
That's
not
all you
much
need.
more.
We can write a song for that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
In fact, most songs aren't far off that.
That is true. One more chord and
One
you'll
more
have
chord and you're away. In fact, AC/DC only really need two.
That's what
Yeah.
Willie kept telling me, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think-
see
Well,
it.
you know power chords, so he
you
can play
sorted.
every song.
All right.
Half of the chord.
Sign me up now. You just
Done.
Put me on.
Done.
Cool.
Record deal. You're on Smack
There
Panda
we go.
Records, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony, so let's introduce you. Where I first heard of you was on ABC Radio. It was a really interesting story, got me really intrigued, and then I didn't hear of you for a while until I saw a recent Facebook feed of yours. You were being interviewed by Nick Reinberg, and he told me you spoke about just coming back from Nashville, and that got my ears picked up because I'm like, why would a musician come back from not that Wollongong isn't the centre of all things cultural on the planet, but Nashville's a close second. So
Oh, it's cultural.
I don't know. It's an interesting story. We need to get to how you got to Nashville and everything, but
So you heard the interview I did when I first got back.
I think when you first got back,
Pre-COVID.
Oh, wow.
was that long ago? Was it?
Yeah, because I did the last interview and live performance in that studio before they shut it down.
Wow. And we had no idea, did we? It was something in China, and it was like, it's over there. We won't have to worry about it.
No, it was going to be the bird flu.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
How
that's
long have we
exactly
been
what we
now?
thought it was going to be, wasn't it?
Well, it'd be a year since
Year and a
we
half,
locked
is
down
it?
in March.
My ongoing streaming show shut down when all the gigs stopped. My streaming show started when the gigs stopped, and we're on show number 51 this week. So
Well
51
done.
weeks.
You've been going 51 weeks.
Yep.
Jesus, so it's almost perfect, man. A perfect year. A perfect storm for a musician, really, coming back from Nashville. Because although there is a music scene happening in Australia, and Wollongong, I think there is. I I think if I was 20 years younger and I didn't have kids, and there was no COVID, you can make a go of it here. You know, there are gigs out there, and you're not going to be, you know, Michael Jackson or anything like that, but you can make a living from it. Yeah. I think coming back from Nashville, where I dare say there was a lot more gigs, landing here.
Well, Nashville's a funny place because it's really a business town. When you talk about music. Because everyone's a songwriter. So everyone you meet, the person you get in the taxi with, or you know, Uber, they're all songwriters, and everyone that you meet between there and the gig you're going to, or wherever you're going, you're meeting songwriters all the time. If you just ask a couple of questions, they'll play your song. They will.
Yeah.
And so the town was built around mostly publishing because all the companies are super closely orientated, so you can go and have, 5, full-on publishing meetings in a day quite easily. And you can't do stuff like that. You can meet with labels and whatnot in Nashville, and get it all done real quick, and then go and play your showcase that night, at a venue on the same block. You can't do that in LA, and so in LA you'll get a couple of meetings in because everyone's so spread out, and then to get everyone to a gig in LA is just super hard because parking and traffic and all that kind of stuff. So Nashville was the place that musicians go to get records recorded because all the session players are there, and to get business done. And so that's mainly the side of it that I got to see. Yeah.
So it's not like New Orleans or something where there's live music happening all the time.
So there's live music everywhere. Yeah. And if you go into the downtown section, which is all the touristy stuff, you'll get every covers band under the sun playing all the covers that you'd expect to hear in Nashville. Yeah. In every venue, basically one playing out the windows, as you move on to the next one. It's a really great feel.
Sounds
it's
like
a great
Thailand.
Scene. Yeah. It's got those musicians in Thailand are pretty
amazing,
I haven't been there, but I've heard some of them.
The covers,
insane.
Except for the singing, obviously because of that.
But some of the singers over there are amazing. Anyway, so there's music everywhere downtown. The commercial side of things, a lot of cover stuff. But you move, a couple of blocks away from there, and it's what you see and what you experience is the songwriting world, where you have all of the songwriters, the published songwriters, and then the ones that are writing with all the published writers. Yeah, they get up and play the songwriter nights. And the traditional songwriter night is where you get like 3 or 4 people on the stage, and they all play a song each, and they go around 3 or 4 times, and they talk about the song, and they talk about who cut it or who they want to cut it. Yeah. And in the audience are the publishers and the other co-writers, and so you're playing for an audience of songwriters, and so to perform a song in that environment, you're going to have a great song. Yeah. To get at the end of that song, you want people to be going, oh man, I wish I wrote that song.
Yeah, that is great.
But it's a different audience.
Yeah. That's a lot of pressure by the sound of it.
Oh, there's pressure, but there's also, it's not like Australia where there's a lot of there's competition, but that everyone helps each other out over there. It's insane. Everyone's success is your group's success. And
absolutely.
So everyone lifts each other up. It's such an amazing feeling.
Yeah. They get greater appreciation for it amongst that type of audience.
Yeah.
Which all understand.
And also there's an opportunity there. If you've got a smoking song, there's a good chance there's going to be someone in that crowd that might be able to help you out a lot. Yeah.
That's right. And if your mate gets a cracker of a song on someone's record and then all of a sudden has a number 1, then guess what circle you're going to be going to parties in?
That's right. That's it. The entourage.
You're in the whole thing. Yeah. And that happens constantly there. There are number 1 parties all the time because every week there's a new number 1, right? Yeah. And so it's socializing and music and songwriting. I mean, there's a particular Nashville kind of writing way and types of songs that are released on the radio and all that kind of stuff, and you can either love it or hate it or both, or write it and still hate it, or there's all of that going on. But in Nashville as well, there's a whole other side of music which is just all this creative stuff that is all genres and that can't really be nutted out under a country brand. Yeah, it's really a music town, and I miss it. I miss it almost every day. I miss it every day because what brought me back here, which I think was your original question, was kids.
Yeah,
that's
kids
why.
do bring people back to Wollongong. That's what brought me back here. In fact, I wasn't even from here, and I ended up back here because of kids.
That's right. I was from Gunnedah, which is
yeah.
northwest New South Wales, sort of out in the country, and I'd lived in Sydney for a while when I released my first record in Australia, and then got the opportunity to tour with Tommy Emmanuel overseas.
Yeah.
And when that came through, my wife, we were married, we were living in Sydney. And she was working. She had a great job in banking, and we're on a good track. And she's like, I was like, "What are we going to do?" And she goes, "Well, this is not going to happen every
Yeah, that's right.
every day.
Yeah.
So why don't we just go to America for a bit and see how that goes?" And so our plan was we had 3 years on a working visa first. We had 1 year's worth of work on the road with Tommy, and then to see what happened. And then every year after that, it was like, well, as long as we've got 12 months worth of work we can see, we'll just hang around.
Yeah.
And it never ran out. Like 12 months.
That's great.
And then I was doing my own tours. Then I was doing, college tours and different stuff, all original music.
Shit, that is great.
Living 100% from my original music.
Yeah.
And I was never able to do that in Australia.
No way. Yeah.
And so it wasn't until we had my daughter and we were on tour with her, and that worked out. It was harder, but we could still work it. We did a number of tours with Liliana, and it was fun in its fun places, and it was hell in many many other places. But then when my son came along, we had a newborn and a 2.5-year-old.
Oh, that's hard.
That kind of pulled us up in the way that then my wife had to stay in Nashville on her own with 2 kids.
Yeah.
And can you imagine how
You're
that
on the
went?
road. Yeah.
And then I went on the road. All right, honey, I gotta go. Woo! It didn't work out. So, we had to make the really hard decision. Because
Which probably turned out to be fortuitous.
Right.
In the long term.
We ducked in here just before COVID.
Jesus Christ. that
Got
was
set
lucky.
up,
Yeah.
and we're like, I'm thinking, I feel like I've moved to a musical desert.
What do you mean feel like? Sorry, not to knock your
Right.
Wollongong.
But no, but I really felt that because, nothing's like Nashville is. Like, the place pumps with music all the time. Every single day you hear something and you're inspired by a musician or a player or someone that is right there, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And that inspiration takes all the work out of practicing and getting better.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got inspiration right next to you all the time. So I missed that.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
miss being inspired by the musicians that I hear. Well, it was inspired tonight, actually. But
Oh, nice.
that's good.
I don't know where.
I
I feel like I haven't played in fucking 10 years when I picked that guitar up then.
Well, it's a different guitar.
It is.
It's like, I don't
I'm
know.
going to bring out all these excuses with my fingers. I wasn't warmed up.
It's kind of cold in there.
My mum was sick. Car broke down on the way here.
So I've often thought that, and the second time I've heard of you when you've got this Illawarra, it's on Facebook. It's a songwriters kind of group where you're getting people to stream their songs on Facebook, and I love that because I've had this idea for a while, and I thought it was mine, and then it turns out Brian Bloody Eno came up with it. But it's the idea that every plant needs good soil, like we get the Beatles. If we stick them in Port Kembla Steelworks and there's no gigs for them, they're fucking world's greatest songwriters, but there's nowhere to play because no one gives a shit. They will just be 4 fucking steelworkers that a wife kick out into the garage, Everything depends. You can't have a scene like Seattle was a scene. There were, even if you don't play music, you can start a club and have bands play. Like the whole, there's a band Caius, like desert rock and all that, and that whole desert grunge. What was it? It was not doom rock. Caius was like that desert rock stuff. All started because there's one 40-year-old guy who had a generator and would give it to the kids and drive out to the desert and let them plug their guitars into this thing. And this whole the Queens of the Stone Age, that's where they started. Was one guy who decided to give a shit about these kids in the desert. And so that's why I started Smack Panda Records originally, was because I just wanted to give, I'm not the greatest producer, but I just wanted to find buskers or anyone I liked in the area and just record them, and just get a scene happening where we all can help each other out. And then, if we need a drummer, and that's what I think you're trying to do, so you've landed. I think daffodils do that when they, not that you're a daffodil, but
that's so sweet, man. No one's ever called me that before.
I think it's
I'll take it.
But they land on a volcano somewhere and then they drop their own leaves and use that as soil.
Yeah.
So they create the scenery that you get in Hawaii and all that. It's all from these
There's
flowers.
like a whole sort of sacrificial thing going on there.
He's
I
like
Yeah.
fanning the flame.
Fanning the flame. You got to start somewhere, and
Yeah.
from big things, little thing grow.
Yeah.
Well, the whole Illawarra songwriter page, I've been thinking about that ever since I got back, because I know that there are great songwriters here. I know there's some amazing, talented people here, because no matter where you go, there are those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's, you've just got to have somewhere for them to be.
Yeah.
And I would actually, when I first got here, on random nights, I would go driving, listening for music. Just it was the weirdest thing, actually, when I think about it now, but I would just drive, because I didn't know anywhere. And I would just drive around like the Wollongong streets, just trying to hear if there was anything going on anywhere. And there was, I couldn't find anything. And I just would return home going, what the hell? Because I was just searching for something. And it was back then when I was like, probably when you heard that first interview, when I was really thinking about how am I going to bring people together. And originally it was around a venue. I was like, I've got to find a venue. And I've been working with some guys at a place called The Vault in Port Kembla.
Oh, yeah, I know The Vault.
Yeah. And I thought, that might be a good spot. But then after doing this, my streaming show, every week for the last almost year, now I'm like, well, streaming is a great thing, because it doesn't matter where, and this also opens up all the ages as well. So you get to have, kids that have just started writing songs to come on and play something and be a part of something and get to know other people in the industry that are local. The whole idea behind Illawarra Songwriter is to allow other songwriters in the area to know of and meet each other in some way, shape, or form. And I had it planned for a year, but then didn't kick it off until Kane Denley. Kane.
I know Kane. He's supposed to be coming on here. Actually, we had Sid on 1920s drummer. So So I was playing a gig down the coast, and Kane rocked up and he was like, man, I thought this was my gig today. And we kind of was like, oh, yeah. And it was the first time I met him. And I was like, dude, why don't you just jump up and we'll just, play a set. Yeah. Oh, no.
And then so he's like, yeah, cool. And so we played, and he's a great guitar player, and it was really cool. We had a bit of a hang. And then he's like, oh, dude, I do this open mic night up in Thirroul.
Yeah.
You should just come and check it out, because we had a chat and he knew what I was into. And then, so I went to that, and then I didn't want to play. I was like, no, I'm not going to play, man. I'm here to listen and just to be involved. And he's like, he got me up at the end to do a couple of songs. And so I thought, well, shit, here I am. This is the first time I've been in a room where I know that there are songwriters in the Illawarra. So I'm going to launch the freaking thing tonight.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So that night I kicked off Illawarra Songwriters and told everyone about it and told them to like the page. And then from that moment, we've been doing every Sunday. Since then, we're only 3 weeks in. And
I thought so,
already, the second week, we had a guy called Hayden Phyllis, which is a 14-year-old songwriter that came on, and this is his first song that he's ever written, right? He came on, he saw the thing on Facebook, on Wollongong. I posted on Wollongong Musicians page, because that's pretty lively, that one. And he came on, played his song, and it was awesome. He did an incredible job for a first-timer, especially. Like, there's no way my first song was that good. And then that next week, I got a call from a label that had seen the show, because he was the first one on. He's like, dude, can you give me the number of the people that are looking after Hayden, because we're starting a new label and we're affiliated with Sony and we want to kick off with some young blood.
Wow.
And I'm like,
how good's
that happened. Just think about the kick on things that could happen from just bringing people together and bringing things to light. I think it's an important thing to have out there.
For sure.
Happening.
That's right. How do you go with the internet connections with the show? I've only watched the one of them, the most recent one, because we were going to get involved in it, but the internet here sucks. So it's I suppose there's always that issue.
I've got a good internet connection at my house, but because we're streaming everyone in, it all depends on their own connection.
Their own thing.
I think I don't know how far away 5G is here for here, but
I think they're burning them all down around here.
I think Aggie's behind that. Shout out to Aggie. We love you, Aggie.
Really, is there a thing? I don't know.
No, I think it was. Then everyone realised that sunlight's about 10,000 times stronger than 5G.
Right,
So
It's like hearing about the spill of radioactive stuff that some of those submarines give off.
yeah,
Do you hear about that?
No,
I've got a friend who works in. He builds the ships in the States. And he
Yeah.
works in the whole thing, and he's one of the engineers. And he's going. There was a spill off the coast of Japan off one of the American ships,
Yeah.
and like it was a huge political thing. Right, they detected this amount of spill. It was all this big thing. And then when he put it into perspective, he said, the amount of spill that there was less than you get when you eat a banana.
shit, no way.
So the
yeah.
instruments they have to detect the spill are that fine.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there was no problem whatsoever
Yeah.
at all. It was just a big political thing.
Especially Japan. Look what they're doing with Fukushima and all that. They got their own problems over there. Yeah. You think they'd give it away, the old nukes? They've had a few problems with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
That was just bad management.
Chernobyl.
Yeah. It was.
I think
That didn't get
Fukushima.
I think a mixture of power production, nuclear is an important part
Yeah.
of that thing. If we want,
Yeah,
we
I
want to
think
have
I think the technology for nuclear is getting better, but with it is an incredibly vivacious technology. You know, you got to control it. Now, the issue with like what happened with Fukushima, they were told 10 years beforehand to build a bigger wall, but it was cheaper not to do it, and the governments didn't do it. And they gave
Well, that's
the private
regulation, though,
And
isn't
do
it?
we trust our regulators?
Well, we should.
But we can't.
No,
They're being bought
paid
everywhere.
off.
So
Yeah.
I think you got the theory that nuclear energy should be all right, but it needs to be regulated.
Yeah.
And we're just not very good at regulating things. You know,
Well,
That's-
lobbyists are the problem.
especially in the States, that's a huge.
That's
issue,
the
yeah.
issue, really, and also in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. See, who was that really horrible weasel? Christopher Payne.
Horrible weasel.
Oh, he was a weasel, man, and still is. Like, here's our defence minister. He's a liberal, and he's just, one of these attack dogs, just a nasty piece of work, man. And Defence Minister, he quit the job, got his $300,000 a year golden handshake from the government, and before his term was even up, he got signed a gig with Raytheon or something like that for the people he was supposed to regulate, gave him a job. Yeah. And this shit happens everywhere.
Yeah, that stinks, doesn't it?
Oh, it stinks. It's corrupt.
Yeah.
It's legalised corruption. They shouldn't be allowed to do it.
The problem is that there's always a human behind the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all have their own individual story going on. So
Well, it's interesting though, once you have X amount of dollars. I understand Muskie, he's got X amount of dollars, but at least he's doing something interesting. He could be doing something more interesting, like maybe helping out Africa or some shit. But, he's
a minimalist.
he's a
Do you hear him
he's a
say that?
multi-billion
He goes, I'm selling
minimalist.
everything. I'm just going to be a minimalist. And the guy's interviewing goes, yeah, but you got all the money in the world. Like, you're going to be the richest.
Nothing
homeless-
minimal about that,
like,
motherfucker.
that means you have to give all your money away to become a minimalist. And he's just like,
So I'm going to Mars.
Look, have you guys covered the whole Mars thing here yet?
Oh, we haven't
Yeah,
in depth,
touched
have
on
we?
it.
not
really.
Yeah.
no.
Because I mean, really, like for me, it just is like we've got this planet that has everything on it,
Yeah.
right?
Let's just sort
that we
that out.
keep screwing up
Yeah.
in lots of different ways,
Yeah.
and we want to spend money on going to Mars to
Yeah.
find a way for us to live.
yeah.
It really doesn't make any sense to
Yeah.
me.
No.
Like the excitement of doing it, for the science and for the hell of it and for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Shit, let's do that for fun. Like all of those robots have gone on there, and the way that they get them there, holy mackerel!
Yeah.
How incredible is that whole thing?
The engineering's fantastic.
But as a legitimate place for humanity to kind of go to when we screw Earth like right into nothing.
Yeah. I know.
It's
Here's a
insane,
quick
mate.
solution. Just don't fuck the planet
Yeah.
so quickly. And then slowly over time we can just
Yeah.
worry about that.
It's not a place I want to go to.
I don't.
Well, you're
I
better
don't
off
even
to be-
like the
There's a lot
desert.
A lot of countries I haven't
Or
seen.
even, why don't we just look after this place
Yeah.
and maybe
That'd be
plant some
great.
more trees and
Yeah. And Mars we're not built for Mars. The soil's actually toxic to us. It's got this shit. If we go out there, even if it was nice and sunny, we'd be fucking dead in a couple of hours.
Pretty
man.
good message.
Yeah, like, you'd be better off in Antarctica and a mile underneath for Antarctica. At least there's still oxygen and shit there. Like, it's not actually viable,
and you're
man, you know?
still going to die in Antarctica.
Yeah, you're still gonna die in
It's still
Antarctica.
It's going to be.
And the thing about billionaires like that, like I watched this guy and he went to Davos where all the the people that actually rule the world go and decide how they're going to give their billions away. Like Bill Gates, I'm going to give all money away. You know, all the money he's given away has gone to companies that he fucking owns.
Yeah.
So
And then back to him.
Oh, look at that. That company just made a whole bunch more money for me to give away.
Tax deductible, of course.
Man.
And this one guy, this
Something
reporter,
wrong,
went to
eh?
Davos and he said, "Look, we're all talking about philanthropy and helping out. Fair enough, but why don't we talk about the elephant in the room, about taxation?" And he basically got fucking booed off the stage. They don't want to hear about taxation, which is where it has to be. You know, like fucking, you only need X amount of food. I don't understand it. You know, it's. Like we're going okay now. My wife's got a great job. We've got a mortgage and stuff, but we're going so much better than we used to. We used to be fucking tight ass. Yeah. And I'm okay. I actually don't need any more shit apart from that thing you're going to show on your guitar later. But apart from I think I was talking to Dave the Irishman, and he was talking about ways we can regulate money and maybe go back to a gold standard. But I think maybe this consumerism, it doesn't make people happy. No. Having a roof over your head and having food and education for your kids, that you need those to be happy, understandable. Any more shit just doesn't make you happy. Minimalism kind of, it makes sense, but you've got to be minimalist with what you're trying to do is create a society. I don't necessarily, I'm not, what's that word, when you love your country and all that.
Patriotic.
I'm more patriotic for guitarists. I'd like to be in the guitarist country or the musician's country, and we can be anywhere in the world, Africa, fucking China, but you're in a boxing community. Yeah?
Oh, no, I don't want to be in that boxing community. I'm coming with you guys.
Well, it's interesting because
he's got all the weed and shit.
Coming. After living overseas, did you guys lived overseas?
Yeah, I lived in London for a few years.
Right, so after living out of the country for a bit, I think you start to really understand what you love about Australia.
Yeah.
What you miss,
what you don't.
all the bits, what you don't miss, and then the things that you love about the other country that you're in at the time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I don't know about you, but I started going, man, if I could just get an island and then get all the people that I really like and put them on there and then just bring all the bits that I like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we could just have this other place.
Well, I think I don't know if we were talking about last week, but I was thinking that, but the States seems to be in a unique situation where it's got 50 places to choose. And like you can see, is it Seattle around there where they've basically decriminalised all drugs. And so if you want to do drugs...
What, even the heavy ones?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's all decriminalised. Well, it worked in Portugal, man. So it seems to be the only sensible thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
Regardless of, it's a health issue.
Is that just like... what's the deal with like supply and stuff though? It's a bit of a grey area.
I think that's grey. I think it's for if you're using and stuff like that.
That still makes it a little complicated because there's still that crime element to it.
Yeah.
In the getting it.
Yeah. Like the dealing part of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
there
it's
is.
Still not legal to manufacture.
No.
So it's tolerated
to use.
I don't think so. Yeah. I couldn't imagine cocaine factories up there.
You'd think that they'd have to, if they're going to legalise it, they have to allow for and somehow guide the making of it and make sure that it's right.
Which is the perfect. That's what they're doing with the
well,
marijuana laws over there as well.
Yeah.
But I think with the states, because you basically got 50 individual countries under a federation, and then if you want to have guns and that, go down to Texas. Like you could actually, there could be a way of doing that.
Alabama.
Yeah, or Alabama or something like that.
Yeah, that's
so
the thing though. But people don't want to. They don't want to move. They just want to make where they are.
And should they have to move if they got family and everything there as well? It's a. But in the long term, it could well be a thing, and all the guitarists live, I don't know, in Nashville. Speaking of guitarists in Nashville, another thing I've got in my head, I'm just addicted to this Nashville show. It's on. Do you know Tom Bukovac? Bukovac,
I know the name.
He's a session guitarist in Nashville, and
I don't know him.
Okay, yeah, he's done this. It's called the Homeschooling, and he's just the most sensational guitarist. And sitting in a shitty garage with an iPhone, and
that's awesome.
And that's it. And man, he's got like 50,000 followers now, and he drinks his beers and just plays. And he doesn't, because guitarists, musicians in general, I think get kind of caught up on stuff. Oh, what amp are you using, man? Oh, that guitar's great. No guitars sound fucking good unless you're playing them. The shittest guitar in the world, if Tommy Emmanuel plays it, it's going to sound fucking great.
Yeah.
So it's, and so he doesn't need any of that shit. And it's all more about the music and showing you things on a guitar to do. And I've been playing the fucking thing for 30 years.
It's awesome.
And I'm just getting so much out of it. It's great.
Yeah.
That's another good thing for COVID, you know.
Totally, yeah. All the road dogs are in their garages now, just playing wherever. But I mean, it didn't change life too much for the session players, other than they couldn't go into the studio. A lot of them had little rigs at home anyway.
Yeah.
By that point, and other like drummers and stuff that I know were actually in the process of doing that. Fly-in tracks, because Nashville is known so much for tracking.
Yeah.
It's easy to sell, tracking services outside of Nashville and fly them in, for whatever tracks and whatever producers that you're working for.
Yeah, that's right. We can do that from here, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
So if, writing a song, you need the world-class drummer and you're prepared to pay, they'll put the track down for you, man.
Sounds like Fiverr.
Not as expensive as you. This is good beer.
I'm going to actually hold that thought. I'm going to get
Burly Big Head once again.
Not as expensive as you think to get
yeah.
great session players on your material.
Yeah.
So if you've got someone in your band who, is not great,
yeah,
you can just sort of, as would happen on some of the big recordings, right?
Yeah.
You bring a whole bunch of different players in, and you get them all to play the same part, and nobody really knows. They know.
Yeah,
some of them
yeah.
know, but maybe they don't know, and they all leave. Yeah. They don't know who's on the record.
Yeah. Well, that was the Beach Boys. That was classic. Right. They didn't play any of that shit, I don't think. In fact, none of those 60s guys. I even heard a rumour that Ringo, who's the guy that's got the Purdy Shuffle? Bernard Purdy, famous funk driver. Evidently, he might have been brought in on a couple of Beatles tracks.
Yeah, I've heard rumours like that.
Well, I think everyone just knocks Ringo, but Ringo wasn't that bad. I actually like him. He's got a bit of a swing to him and stuff.
Have you seen the Ringo on the All Stars that he does?
No, I haven't.
I got to see that show in Nashville with Tommy actually, and Rick Price. Remember Rick Price?
I know the name.
90s guy, incredible vocalist, and so Tommy got some tickets because he knew the guitar player who was from Earth, Wind and Fire or something like that. Awesome. And so we went to see that show, and it was incredible.
Big band?
Yeah, big band. It was just such an amazing show. And, all the hits that you recognise from lots of different bands and stuff, but the musicians are amazing.
They were great.
And Ringo was fantastic. They had two kits on stage. So they had, the session player and Ringo would get up whenever Ringo was just sort of doing whatever he wanted.
It was like the compare type.
Just sang some stuff, and then he played some stuff, and it was a fun
That
show.
sounds great. What a gig.
Meeting people in the audience, how you going? Yeah. This is my band. Got the cowbell.
But basically what it was is that he's just, Ringo's like Ringo. So he's like, who wants to get in a band with me? And he just picks the great players from these other bands that aren't touring right now. And it's like, hey, do you want to come on the road?
Oh, God.
And they sound amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So what got you into guitar? Like, how did you start that whole...
Well, I'm a singer. I'm not a guitar player. I play guitar, so I write songs to it.
Yeah.
But I've never been a guitar player where I've sat down to learn to play the guitar. It's just been something that I've had to do so I don't have to pay someone else to do it when I sing.
Yeah.
Because I'm, 100% a singer. I've always been a singer, and now we're in trouble.
So it's begun.
Yeah, and so when I got the opportunity to open for Tommy Emmanuel, the greatest acoustic guitar player in the world.
He's not a human though.
Well, this is the thing.
That was one of my other questions.
I was petrified at the beginning because, I had released my first record and sent it to lots of different people, and it was his manager played it for him, and this is how it went down. Tommy heard it and was like, "This guy needs to be in America."
That's
invite
great.
him over.
Good on him. Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. Tommy's the kind of guy who gives a leg up to people that aren't on labels, that that don't have the networks and all that sort of stuff. He's constantly helping people.
And what was that phone call like?
Well, it was an email.
It was an email. And you thought it was bullshit. So some Nigerian asshole.
That's right. I was like,
selling me an airport.
That's right. But it was basically, do you want to? We got your package. Tommy loves your stuff. Do you want to come and tour with Tommy Emmanuel in America next year for a whole year? And it's like,
that is bloody incredible.
Let me check my diary.
So as a solo artist,
let me check my pants and then I'll check my diary.
So you sent out, how many of these packages did you send out?
I sent them all over the place. I don't know. It was really like a kind of just random shot in the dark.
So this was the mid-noughties around there?
So it was in... Oh, now I'm going to get this wrong. So 2008 was when we landed in Nashville. So it was early 2007 when I sent all that out. And it was just basically put CDs in a bag, and we bought all these sparkly bags.
You got to stand out, man.
Right, because I figured that, this is the first record, not this one, but my first record was called Disappearing Day, and it was released in Australia. I did 2 singles here, and it was after the second single that we went to the States. But sparkly bags, sent it to, film and TV people, managers, whoever I could find that I had a connection to, which wasn't very many people. Excuse me. And 2 of them hit, right? The one at Tommy's manager hit, and they came back, and I think maybe we sent out maybe 60. It wasn't a big number, but it felt like a big number when you put them together. And then also the expenditure on buying all the stuff that you got to do. It costs money. And then the other one that hit was with a film and TV guy in LA, and he picked up the record, and he sent me an email as well, and he said, "People don't usually send me full albums anymore."
Yeah.
He said, "But I put yours in the car." And he said, because I put it in the car, he said, I heard the whole thing. He said, I love all of your stuff. He said, I'm going to use some of your songs on some TV programs. I'll send you the details stuff later on. And I was like, holy crap. Look, this is a kid growing up in Gunnedah, moved to Sydney, done my first record, and then just did a shotgun approach.
That is so lucky, because I've done heaps of those, man. Right. And, to get any type of callback is fucking amazing.
To get anything.
Yeah.
That's right. And so the ratio of that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's bloody good. 1 in 30. Jesus Christ.
And so he ended up putting me on a TV show, which was my first film and TV sync in the first year that I was there. So it worked in really well with the tour. So I was able to tour and then do promotion based around the fact that I was actually also on a TV show, which the TV show...
Yeah, I was going to say, which one is it? Like, Dawson's Creek?
Oh, man, it was terrible. But, I was waiting on, because I wanted to put it in the bio, because to get the visa you need to get over there, you need to have all this stuff together. Yeah. And you need to have all your ducks in a row, and they want to know everything you've done since birth, really, so they can see that you've gotten somewhere. The year before, I'd also won Music Oz, when Music Oz was a thing around here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went into that.
Yeah.
Right.
We entered that.
Yeah.
Came 5th.
Great. Awesome. And it was an amazing sort of organisation, and that kind of died because of a whole lot. Do you know why that went down?
Was that a government-run thing, was it?
No, sort of. They had some grants that kept them going, but it was a privately held company.
Okay.
And I know the guy who I now know the guy who ran the whole thing. He's an incredible guy, and he loves music, and he loves musicians, and his heart's in the right place. And he got involved business-wise with a guy who just ripped him up blind.
Oh, no.
And so that's why the whole thing tanked. Absolutely tanked, which was such a loss for the Australian industry, because that was the only place independents could actually go and get some real kind of feedback and also some legs up here and there.
And it was
lifted up.
Something for the musicians to do, because there was nothing at the time that we did it. There was no gigging. It was all like DJs, and you couldn't get a gig anywhere. So it was like going musicals and see how you go.
That's exactly right. And the labels were sort of on the fringes, so they weren't controlling it, and that was key. The fact that it wasn't label controlled meant that the gatekeepers were kept out of that circle. Absolutely. And so great music got lifted up.
Somehow it snuck in there. Yeah. Which is really... I was watching an interview of Frank Zappa, and he was talking about, it might have been in the 80s or something, and Frank Zappa's famous musician, musicians kind of guy, and he was talking about doing music in the 60s and all that, and how the music industry had changed. And he said in the 60s, you'd take this really avant-garde, he did some wild shit musically, it's really hard to listen to a lot of time, but...
Oh, it's impossible.
Yeah, but...
How hard, and to think about, but to think that guy understood everything.
And the band, and he worked with this dude who got the poster over there, Captain Beefheart, and his most famous album, it sounds like 5 children in a room just smashing shit. But the thing is, they would do this shit 3 hours every night, perfectly the same.
Yes.
It's fucking insanely hard to do.
Notated.
Yeah,
all notated.
That's right.
It's insane.
And so he was talking about the industry, and he said, look, it was better early in the days because the people in charge of the companies were big, fat, cigar-smoking white guys who had no idea about music and didn't give a fuck. And so
they're not influencing.
They weren't. You'd dumped in this album. They're not into it anyway. They said, will it sell? Well, maybe. And he goes, okay, we'll stick it out then. He said problems came when all the people went to university and they were the cool kids and they got to take over the record companies and they decided what was cool or not. And you think about something as famous as Nevermind, probably the biggest album of the last 40 or 50 years. It was there's all these boardroom around there, and they played the album. They said it's shit, and they were going to throw it out. Nirvana's first album, one of the biggest albums of all time, and it was a secretary who happened to be there and said, "If you throw that out, I'm going to quit. If it doesn't sell, you can fire me." She goes, "It's fucking gold," and it took the secretary to tell all these idiots they're getting paid uber bucks.
She must have had some big balls.
Well, it's just a fucking great. I remember.
It is a great album, but fuck, you can imagine them guys.
Spirit. Oh yeah,
women have balls.
But I remember I was in the car. Mum was in the car. And it was all MC Hammer and shit, and it was you could not hear fucking a guitar from Love or Money if it wasn't the Eagles or something like that. And then on this, and it was in New Zealand on this commercial station with adverts, a fucking rock song came on, and not just a rock song.
Teen
Smells
Spirit?
Like Teen Spirit, which was like a proper one where people were angry and shit, and it just fucking. We had to stop the car. I'm like, what the fuck is this doing on? It was a really big moment,
Yeah, I remember that song coming out.
Yeah, and then a whole wave came after it.
Yeah.
And luckily, Seattle had a scene there where all these kids were doing this shit anyway. They didn't really think they were going to get famous.
Wearing cardigans.
And they were ugly, kind of. Kurt was kind of good looking, but it was okay, again, to not be packed up and shit like that. And
then we had Silverchair come out of it later on.
Well, yeah.
Later on.
Eventually.
Frog Stomp. That wasn't too bad of an album for my era.
Yes, well, okay. Yeah, yes.
I thought it was all right.
I think for a bunch of 15-year-olds, it was not a bad Nirvana rip-off,
Well, we were only 11 or 12.
It was a well-placed, thing, and they're Aussie, so good on them.
Yeah. And now I just love anyone that's out there doing it. I don't really care if they're playing an instrument and giving it a fucking go. I'm into it, man. Because it's such a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And more power to you. Yeah. Fucking A, man.
Anyone chasing it?
Yeah. I love it. Like what you're doing with your boxing, man. You've got to have a go.
Let's have a little yarn about that. So.
Yeah. How's the training going?
It's good.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Same old.
So when's your fight? We'll get this
6
out.
weeks.
6 weeks. What's the date?
23rd of April.
For everyone out there.
I keep saying 4th. 3rd.
In Canberra.
23rd in Canberra. Live on Fox Sports.
Live on Fox Sports.
Yeah.
We'll be there live anyway.
Yeah, we will. The Panda Party will be there.
We'll be putting some cayenne pepper on your gloves.
Oh, yeah.
That, man.
Fucking chili sauce for it, baby.
Wrapped with barbed wire and fucking nails sticking out.
Yeah.
No, it's going well. Weight's coming down, getting fitter. Start sparring this week again. So it's good. Everything's good. I'm happy.
You got a good sparring partner out there?
I'm going to go up and do some rounds with one of my old amateur buddies, Cohen. Yeah. He's got a big fight coming up on the 31st, so he should be pretty sharp. And we'll just roll on from there, man.
I've got a really silly question because I don't know anything about boxing, but I'm really interested in it, how you psych yourself up sort of mentally for a face-off like that. Do you have to hate the person you're about to fight?
No, I think just generally, like on a weigh-in or something.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah, I don't know. You're just pretty pissed off at everyone because you're so fucking hungry.
It's hangry that gets it through.
Yeah, I don't.
Because the idea is to knock this person out, ideally, isn't it?
Oh, that's the easiest way to get the job done, isn't it? That's the main goal. But it's more of just like it's a focus thing. It'd be not much different from trying to do your job, get in and play a song properly. I guess you're just trying to nail something. So the mindset starts really now. Like I noticed it this time because I retired for a year. I worked a lot on myself getting away from this person that I have to become to fight. So coming back into it, I noticed today, like consciously, I was like, oh, there's a real shift in how I am at the minute. You feel more in yourself and like a little more ego consumed and having to focus in on you and what's going on with you, and that's pretty much it now. Which is interesting to watch within yourself.
Yeah, right.
Consciously now.
Yeah. It's good so you can do that now. You're not actually in there.
Yeah, and I'm noticing it.
Noticing
and I'm
it,
like, you need to do that, but you're aware of it. So, it's not that hard, man. Like, because you're preparing, you have to train so hard for eight weeks or whatever to beat that person. So you do find little things about them that give you that bit of an edge. You usually find something about them to dislike. You think you hate them for a second, but I mean, once you've gone through that kind of experience with someone, you generally, there's no reason to hate them anymore. It's like,
no, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you're laying it all on the line with someone, you're chasing the same goal. It's just that you want the best outcome for you and your team. So
I suppose in some ways anger might distract you, wouldn't it? You know, put you off a game a bit.
Yeah, it does. It's a nice little G up when when you're weighing and you need to give yourself a little pump up. But like, I don't think it's needed. Like,
I wonder if
calmness is mastery.
Yeah. But I wonder if you knew for a fact that the other guy was a dick, whether it would be okay.
Oh,
if he
great.
if he just
if
you know that he kind of parked in a a disabled park as he got there. You're like,
it helps. It's like, it's more exciting. Like, it's easier to get up for, you know? You know someone's a dick. Like, it is.
You're going to enjoy it more.
Yeah, a few people have said that to me about this guy that I'm fighting. Like, he's such a knob. I can't wait for you to smash.
Really? Yeah.
You know, he could come across that way to some people, but to be honest, and actually he did predict he's going to stop me in 3 rounds, so that got me a little bit, bitch.
Is this for 10? 10 rounder?
10 rounder, yeah. So that made me think. He's been very respectful up until he said that.
Then, yeah.
So, but that's cool. I'm a bit old and wise.
You've been through this a lot.
Like, I don't need to get that G'd up anymore until it's time to.
Yeah.
Just on the mentality, like, what do you do before a gig? Is there anything that you do to get your mind right to perform?
Well, for me, it's much better not to have to think about that moment. So if there's a lot of time in the green room before the show, that's when things get messed up.
Yeah.
If I can come from whatever I was doing, whether it was studio or whatever, and then just walk straight into the gig, tune up, know that I'm good to go, and step out onto the stage, then great.
Yeah. So no real thinking about it,
if
just
I've got
straight
to
in.
Think about the things that might go wrong,
then
things might go
tricky
wrong.
little passage.
Because in fact, what you're doing is probably rehearsing the things that might go wrong. Oh, that could go wrong. Well,
it went wrong. Surprise.
But if you haven't got to think about it, then you can just do it on a reactive thing.
So do you do vocal warm-ups prior to...
I do that probably on the way to the gig in the car. And it's just basically stretching the muscles, stretching the vocal cords, and making sure that the notes are all there. But also sometimes if you're coming off a lot of singing and the notes aren't there and you know they're not there, there's a few exercises you can do to relax those vocal cords, or at least understand what notes you have to play with, so then you can change your show.
You don't go for it.
Yeah, you change your show to suit whatever notes you
detune.
have.
Auto-tune.
Press this button.
I remember Hayley saying that she used to drink Solo before a gig because it like kind of lubricated the throat a bit.
It's all up here.
Yeah, well that's...
Drink whatever you want.
Yeah. Placebo.
Because what you were saying before about being a singer who had to learn guitar, and I'm the opposite. I'm a guitarist. I had to learn to sing. When we're recording our albums and all I find singing really easy because I'm not a singer. So I find there's no pressure on me at all. You know, I don't expect myself.
You don't really care.
Well, now I kind of do. You know, I really like my voice, but I'm more nervous about my guitar playing because that's what I'm supposed to be good at.
You got a beautiful voice. It's like a daffodil. I don't know.
Daffodil. Yes, like daffodils.
Dandelion.
I'm a dandy. Have you tell that yet? Yes, so I thought that was interesting because it's all absolutely in your head. There's pressure you feel or don't feel. Now I find out with, like Hayley and I haven't done a gig. Shit, it's almost a year now.
Yeah.
And I'm itching to do a fucking gig. You know, it's
why don't you just do one? Just take your guitar over to a park somewhere and I don't know.
The gig that people were there and they're drinking, you know, like that's
like
all
Dave
very-
Chappelle. Dave Chappelle apparently just would
Yeah.
carry around a little microphone and go to
That's
Central
pretty
Park
cool.
and just
Yeah,
start
yeah.
doing
That is cool.
doing a gig. Like people weren't even expecting this to happen, and all of a sudden here he is, just like.
But that's Dave
doing a-
Chappelle, didn't
doing a comedy
Dave
show.
Chappelle over there?
Yeah, but-
He's got 10,000 people there.
They might go, that's fucking Matthew Sinclair.
They'll say, oh, he wants some
Smack.
money. He's got his back of hand out.
Yeah, look at this poor musician.
I knew that Panda
Don't walk
podcast
close to
wasn't
it.
successful.
It's like that, isn't it?
You got to keep grinding though. That's the thing, I think.
Have you done a bit of busking?
I have. I just felt a bit weird. I've done it around Wollongong, which is
Don't you need a permit or some shit?
well, they kind of want.
It's not really busking though, is it? It's like
Well, yeah. Well, in the mall, you kind of
Yeah.
they want you to because they were getting heaps of people do that, and some guys were just standing there like stomping their feet and I don't know, rolling in dog shit or something. And it's like we got to stop this avant-garde shit here in Wollongong. I've gone okay. You know, I've gotten money and all that. And it's really you're open when you're busking. That's what I find. You know, you're not on a stage or anything. I should do more of it. Yourself. What's your experience with the busking?
Done a little bit here and there. Like sometimes, especially when you're touring, there can be, you know, a day or half a day somewhere in a city you've never been in before.
Yeah.
And you got no time to get a license. And sometimes you don't speak the language. So, I haven't been in trouble, but the potential is there, I suppose. But, it's fun to do sometimes. And then in other places, actually the worst place that I've ever busked was Nashville.
Oh, really?
Yeah, terrible. They hate buskers in Nashville. Like you
It's looked
really
down upon.
felt like you were begging.
Yeah.
It really felt like begging because I guess it's a music town. But I did it for the experience anyway, just because I was like, I had some time, and I was like, I'm just going to go busking down the street to see what that vibe is because I want to play.
Yeah.
And it was a weird experience.
That's
but
what I
I'm
felt.
glad I did it
as well.
I'm glad I did it though.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a feeling of like, you get a sense of how people react to music sometimes, and the awkwardness is something. It's something.
Have you ever watched like the YouTube videos of guys busking? There's a guy in I think it's Mexico, and he is shredding, like playing Iron Maiden songs, but like just so fast, like these solos, and he's got like a crowd of people all just out on the street watching him play.
Oh, there's
it's
some
amazing.
insane talent.
Some people can pull it off really well, but
Yeah.
then you'll
Yeah.
see someone like the head of the London Philharmonic Orchestra doing fucking, I don't know, Paganini on the violin, and no one will fucking stop.
I think I saw that
You know?
video.
Have
I
you
saw
seen
that
the-
video.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The train station. And they get the janitor and he's like sweeping up, but he's a concerto pianist. And then he sits down and he's just like, bing, bonk, he just starts hammering out all these people like, what's going on here?
Yeah. I tell you what, I think the reason I love music is because it's the one thing, I suppose, you know, your kids do it as well, but that can really just give me shivers. You know, when I see something fucking amazing, it makes me feel like I was 3 or 4 again when I first heard the Barry White album my dad played or some shit. And I got that feeling the other day. My mate Paul sent me this thing. It might have been a New Orleans funeral, and and I was that good that I called up a local trombone teacher, and I want to learn the fucking trombone now. You know,
That doesn't surprise me.
like it was. It's such a cool instrument. And seeing a big brass band as a funeral, and everyone, it was the real deal, man. Like the hairs just went on back of my neck, and this thing went on for 6 minutes, this repeating beautiful little melody, and it just built, and then there was a call and response, and there was like 3 grandmas playing the drums and clapping their hands, and everyone was just screaming. It was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to it, man.
Yeah, right.
And
Is that what got you into music?
I think it's the old man's record collection.
Yeah, okay.
It's always been in the house, man. You know, so he was always playing Pink Floyd, and has never been without it. And I just constantly had music in my head, like that song. I just spoke about the trombone song. It's been going in my head for 3 days. I wake up at 2:00 in the morning, and the fucking thing's repeating
Holy
in my
shit.
head. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, that
get
might
the
be
same
insanity.
thing, like,
Some things.
yeah, like and
It's rare though.
yeah, there's always
Music's one of those things though, that, like, I don't think it matters who you are. You hear certain stuff and it's like it touches you fucking...
It's in our
your
DNA,
soul,
kind of,
like, it's
yeah.
just...
That's right.
yeah.
It's totally in there.
Yeah.
That's the reason I think that part of the reason humanity survived is because a lot of the history was passed down through music and that sort of creative thing. That's the way that we were able to pass on history for so many years before we started writing things down. But that's the other thing. I do a lot of songwriting workshops for total beginners and people that that have never written anything or never thought that their thoughts could be something. And the thing that I love the most, and I got into that because while I was in Nashville, I was working for the Nashville Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame over there.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got this program that goes into schools and the lower socioeconomic areas, and you basically take the kids writing and turn it into music in front of them.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And, it's just such an amazing, magical thing to take this little kid who has got nothing and maybe didn't get breakfast that morning, and is in a really shit situation. Something they created, show it back to them, show them how amazing it can be, and it changes the way that they sit. They're like,
they sit up a bit more.
You can see that their potential for what they can achieve in life changes in that moment, and it's amazing. And you can do that for a lot of people. And one of the things that I love about that kind of thing is every single word that you utter can be a song. Yeah. Like literally everything. We're all capable of it. It's just no one does it because it takes a little bit of time, and you got to,
And we've got these stupid jobs that we've got to do.
I was playing guitar. I started writing songs. I remember I remember the day. It actually happened on a day. I've been playing guitar since I was 13. My Caius was born, so he's almost 20 now. So I'm 45. So I would have been 26 when it happened.
Wow.
I flew back to New Zealand. So the kids, my ex-wife, she's from Thrill. That's why I ended up in Wollongong. And then I thought, and before Wollongong, I was living in Queenstown, snowboarding and all this. And I thought, well, Wollongong's great, but maybe the kids should grow up in Queenstown. So I flew back over there and have been taken over by billionaires. Like, literally, man. It's real Bill Gates and that have their places and that. They fuck the world, then they go live in the South New Zealand. And then I thought, it was quite there's a few funny stories that happened down there. But on this one night, it's my last night in Queenstown before I decided to fly back to Thrill and just make a go here in Wollongong. And I went and saw my mate who played at our wedding, Paul Ubana-Jones. He wasn't my mate then. He was just a guitarist, a Nigerian Yorkshire guitarist, and like massive afro. But he's classically trained. Like he's a bluesman, but he was trained by Julian Bream, the greatest classical guitar player of all time. So he's got this blues, then he's got this whole other thing going on. Like it's blues, but with this finesse that you've just never seen. And this gig changed my life. Like literally, if I hadn't gone to that gig, I would never have written a song. This wouldn't be here.
Wow.
Because I would never have met my wife because she's a singer, and that's how it did. And I never thought I could write a song. I was just a guy that noodled on a guitar. Right. And then after that show, it was such a fucking good show. The next day I wrote my first song, and it was an epiphany. It was like, this is it. I found what I'm going to do in my life. I never thought I could be the guy to do this, but after that show last night, this is what I am.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. I'm really lucky to have an epiphany because most people don't get one. No. But if Paul hadn't done that for me, and then later on in life he became a friend of mine, and we've played together and stuff.
So is he here?
He's in Christchurch. Right. Yeah, Paul Ubana-Jones. I'll send you a link. We'll put some stuff.
Yeah, I'll put a photo up in that.
Yeah, man. He rocked our wedding. He came over for the wedding and all that. And
it was great.
Once he gets going, he does his blues shit. And then he does these Indian ragas over the top of them with all these oud tunings and things like that. And once he gets going, he's a big boy. His afro's going. It's like Reggie Watts on speed, man. Just smoking.
He's a showman, eh?
Oh, he's great, man. And also the singer-songwriting, he's English, so he comes from an English folk tradition, like Bert Jensch and all that. So he grew up, he saw Jimi Hendrix's second show in London. And that's when he was 14 years old.
Fuck.
So, he was there at the time, man.
Holy shit.
So the banter in between the songs, which is what I love, I want to hear what the song was about, where it came from. It becomes, if you're doing a good show, it becomes no matter how big the space, it becomes quite intimate. Like if you're going well, and if you're not going well, it's fucking huge. So so that was, I don't know how we got onto that.
That's a pretty good segue, though.
That's great, I love it.
Yeah. So what got you inspired? Like, what inspires you to write the songs that you do?
I really I love to sing, and so. Early on, I grew up in a town called Gunnedah, which is northwest New South Wales, and there wasn't much to do out there. There was a bit of sport, and I played a bit of cricket and stuff when I was a kid. But really, what I loved to do was just get an instrument and go out into we had this little wool shed that we kind of fixed up and put an amp in and a set of drums, and just get out there and make some noise and make things up. Yeah. Just make things up.
Who were you listening to at this time? Do you remember?
Just what was on the radio. I didn't really have a good music education. I was just really open to whatever was out there, and it's sort of embarrassing what the first cassette I bought.
What was it?
What was it, man? We little tell ours as well.
Yeah.
It was the Bengals.
Was that Manic Monday? Was that them?
That was the one, yeah.
Hey man, Prince wrote that song. It's not a bad song.
Did he? With that. It was pretty cool. I still love that music. I still love that.
Well, it's perfect pop, especially that Manic Monday song. Yeah, when you listen to it, you can hear Prince.
It's pop. Yeah. And that's actually probably why I didn't go to Tamworth from Gunnedah, because they're very close. And I really had nothing to do with country music at all, because I was very much pop and sort of mostly pop rock orientated. Yeah. And then from there I moved to Sydney and went through a bunch of programs at the school. The public schools had a thing called the TDP, which is the Talent Development Project.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a part of that, but I never really felt a part of it. It was a weird kind of vibe where it was mostly club performers at the time. It's much more songwriting orientated now for the students. But for me, I didn't really fit. And there was opportunity there for me, because I'm a vocalist, for me to go into music theatre. And I did do a couple of theatre shows in Tamworth and enjoyed the process, but I didn't really want to go into that professionally because I wanted to sing my own songs. Yeah, I wanted to make stuff that was about me, which is kind of a bit selfish, I guess. But
that's what the artist has to be. I don't think you have a choice.
Right.
Because if you don't make it, you can easily not make it doing something you don't want to do. So you might as well not make it fucking doing something you do want to do.
Yeah, because at least for that period of time, you're doing what you want to do, right?
Well, I think at the end of it, it's all about the work. Yeah. If your work is like, that's where I'm at. I don't really give a shit about getting famous or anything. I just want the work to be really quality. The songwriting, when you get into it, it's such a cool thing, It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and then when it fits, you're just stoked.
And then there's nothing more intense for a songwriter than when anyone that gets that material and makes it a part of their life. That song becomes a part of their story, or they use it in some way to emote. Like, holy crap, that's so powerful, and it's an amazing thing.
How do you know when you're done, like with the song?
Never done.
Yeah.
Never done. The song continues to grow as you change, and the more you play it, it changes continuously. I mean, it stays the same on the record, obviously.
But how do you, even to get it to the record stage, like, do you know when it's done, when it's on the record, or are you still trying to go, maybe I should change that chord there? Or?
Well, at some point you feel like it communicates the emotion you want to say. Either the story or the emotion you want to put across at the time. You're like, is it saying everything I want to say? Is there anything in between the performance and the song that's stopping that emotion getting through? Yeah. And if the answer is no, then you kind of got it.
Yeah.
And if you can play it for a stranger and they're like, I got that song, they get all the right emotional vibes.
Yeah.
They don't have to know what the specifics are, but if they get the right emotional vibes, then you've written a song that communicates something.
Yeah.
And then I think you're done at least to record it. But I think as a performer, the more you play your own songs, they change over time because we're growing. Everything's changing. Yeah. We're moving through the universe and everything's moving.
Yeah. And I think as a punter watching a gig, I'm not interested in hearing the CD. I want my show. I want Radiohead or whoever to play this one particular show where I happen to be is the show that only us here get to see. That's
I'm the opposite. I like it to be like the record. Because I don't know. It's just.
Well,
but I'm talking about it.
There is an interesting thing about that, and I'm not sure whether it's a culturally Australian thing, because there is a covers culture here that exists that's pretty strong, and hearing records the way that they were supposed to be and they were originally performed, I think is is something that sort of lies here, sort of an unspoken.
I don't know. To me, it was like if they could play it exactly like the album, like the
quality,
the tone and everything sounds like it did on the album, then I was happy. Like
but
Sepultura did it in Barcelona, and I was so happy that they played it exactly like the record.
I think, but then there's a problem that you end up becoming like the Eagles, and then you play Hotel California. You can't change a note on that solo. Fucking Joe Walsh must be pulling his hair out. Like, you become a karaoke band of your own shit, and
but then you write other songs because you've got that one done.
No one cares about the other
Yes,
songs.
that's true.
Did you see the live thing that they did? And did you see the
recent one?
Oh, I think it was the one where they had to, like, they literally stopped and they had that audience stay back, like it took 4 or 5 hours or something because they kept playing the songs over and over again until they got it right.
Oh,
you're kidding!
Yeah.
Oh no,
because the live recording had to be perfect.
Yeah.
Had to be exactly.
But that's not a live recording.
That's true.
I listen to Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page, like 1973 songwriter, saying that's what got me into guitar playing. I wanted to be Jimmy Page. And you listen, it's messy as fuck, but it's the most rock and roll thing you're ever going to hear, man. He is going for
it. But all
it.
the emotion is there.
Yeah, it is.
It's all there.
Yeah. He can't play a wrong note because it's his fucking song.
You can't have a classical song like that. It wouldn't work. It has to be perfect.
Yeah, well, that classical is a
different
beast,
genre,
though, isn't it?
but they're all different genres, aren't they? Like,
That's interpretation.
That is true too.
And classical, if you listen to, I'm doing a Bach piece, and so I'm jumping on YouTube, and between, like, say, John Williams and Anna Vukotic, who's like the best guitar player in the world at the moment, classical, they're miles apart. They're playing the same music, but even within these notes, you hold back just a millisecond, it gives a different interpretation.
Plus their fingers are shaped differently, their nails grow differently. It's amazing
how different they are playing exactly the same song, you know, so there's always a nuance you can get out somewhere.
I remember Dimebag Darrell saying, like, you could have all the same tones as me, but you won't play the same.
Who was saying, I was watching those guitar rig rundowns, and they did Brian May, who's got probably one of the most iconic sounds. Yeah. And I might have been, and the guy played his guitar and just sounded like didn't sound anything like Brian May.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's, music's just such a wonderful thing. Yeah. When you get into it, it's so deep. You know, like Adam and I both started, so I started playing guitar at 13. I did 1 year of classical and then just taught myself, you know, because the guy left. And loved it all the way through. And it was only recently I thought, man, I've just plateaued for like the last 10 years. Yeah. You know, I haven't learnt a new lick or anything. So I'm like, why don't I get lessons? And it was a brainstorm.
I pretty much gave up.
Yeah. And
I hadn't picked up the guitar for like 5 years.
Yeah. And then
thought, maybe I should start doing lessons. I've got to do something with it.
Yeah, and so then we got Dave the Irishman, and he's such a great guitar teacher, man, like a music teacher. And and now my knowledge has just exploded, you know. And
it's awesome.
That's really good, man. Like, you should always, like, you know how to box, but you still need a teacher or a coach, don't you, you know?
I think it's that, that thing that was missing for a long time for me, like someone to kind of guide me the right way.
To see things that you're not, you can't see what
you're different eyes.
You know what? I think you're inspiring me here because I've never had a guitar lesson.
Oh man,
David,
getting on to Dave, mate. He just and what for songwriters, so he's now opening up these whole modes. And what I normally do, I can hear a chord, I've got this cool progression, and I hear a chord, I've got to go through every chord in the fucking world. And by then my ear's gotten a bit loose. And,
you forgot where you were coming from.
Yeah, and so now with these tools he's given me, these shapes I can see on the fretboard now, I know where to go. Like, I know these are the possibilities, and it just opens everything up. And now with the lead work, I want to get, like, you're doing lead, but, you know, I saw arguably the best electric guitarist in Australia on the weekend. The best, in my personal humble opinion, the best electric guitarist in Australia is a truck driver from Helensburgh. So his name's Ray Beadle, and anyone watching this that's seen Ray will just know he is fucking phenomenal. I've seen him like probably 4 times now, and the first time I saw him I thought this is the best guitar player in Australia, and every time I see him past then he puts all these new chops on. Sweet. And so I thought he was definitely the best blues guitarist in Australia, and then now he's probably the best jazz guitarist and blues guitarist.
Wow. So he's getting better.
Yeah, and he's got like 3 or 4 kids. He drives a full-time job as a truck driver. I don't know where he gets. You got to see him.
Who's driving that truck? He's in the passenger.
I don't know if I should give him that away. It was supposed to be on the hush thrust in the crowd, but
he gets pulled over.
He said it was lucky for him last year because of COVID, you know. So he was one of the few guys that wasn't out. Yeah, right. But just just all like, you know, when you know that someone is so across, like Tommy Emmanuel, they can play whatever they want. They're not guessing, is this the right note? Or
No.
It's all
They know
free,
the fretboard like the back of their hand.
It's such a beautiful
Do you
thing
do
to
that?
watch.
Do you pick,
Yeah.
if you write a song, do you ever like pick what key it's going to be in or anything like that? Or do you know the song in your head via the chords? Or?
No, it depends on where it comes from. If I'm writing just from a page of lyrics, I'll just randomly put the capo on somewhere and then play some chords and see if I can get a vibe that matches the theme.
Yeah.
Or if it comes from a riff in my head, then I'll look for whatever key that's in my head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Because I used to like go, okay, we haven't got a song in A major, so let's write one in A major.
There's no wrong way of doing it.
Do you write to a song like every time? Like, do you have the song, the idea of it, or do you just sometimes just start writing and
It's
then
different
try
every
and
time.
put it to some music?
Yeah, it can be different every
Like
time.
start with the lyrics and then
Yeah, it can start from conversation. It can start from a vibe in the room.
yeah.
Start from a little bug that's flying.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Must be in the limelight.
You can take a rhythm. You can take a rhythm. In fact, writing for film and TV opened up a new way of writing for me as well, because there was a couple of movies that I was writing for with a friend of mine who does this for a living in LA.
Yep.
And he's like, "Come on in and write on these scenes with me." And I'm like, "Oh, man, how fun!
How
would
do you do
be?"
that? Yeah.
Right? But basically, you get the edit without any music. Right?
Yep.
You get all of the vocal, like all the speech and whatnot, and all the Foley is all in there.
Yeah, okay.
And so then you get the scene, and then your music has to fit the character and what the producer wants, what the director wants for that character, and the emotion of the scene. So you got all your instrument choices are all about that.
Do they give you a script like of what they think the characters should be like?
They give you notes of what,
Yeah.
and they also give you a track that they've had as a holding track in there.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Can be either. Sometimes
That's interesting though.
it's probably not good to hear that. Just get the instructions, and then you go in and you time it to the changing of the scene. And so there are certain points that emotional things happen, like, you know, the guy will turn and look, or something will happen. In fact, if I could remember the name of the movie, I think it was called Bad Karma, and there was a fairly famous actor in it. It's a B-rated movie. It's a terrible movie, but it was a lot of fun to write for, because I think I wrote over the sex scene.
Oh, bit of wah-wah.
But the way that things moved dictated the tempo of the song.
Yeah.
Because then you just split the whole song over the frames that you had.
Yeah.
And
That gave you the beat.
And that gave you the beat
Yeah.
that you had to fit. And then the certain points in the scene gave you the way
Like
the song
dramatic.
would move.
Yeah.
And it's quite a
That's
different,
fantastic.
interesting way
That'd
of
be
writing.
awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very different. That would be really fun to do.
But
Just fuck
it
around
basically
with.
opened up the idea that anything goes. Absolutely anything. Music is not something that really can be contained in a box or even on a recording or anything. It's shaking up the sound waves that are here.
Yeah.
And you can, if you want to create something that's going to be repeatable, there's no particular way that you need to do it.
Yeah. The closest I've come to that, I did a couple of, real estate, how they started using drones and that, and the music on that shit was terrible. So I went to a couple of them and I said, look, I'll just do some acoustic kind of noodly nice shit and all that. And that went all right and then I got this commission from one of them. They said, we're selling this $1 million property back when $1 million actually meant something. and they said, okay. And I said, how much, and all that. And they said, don't worry, it'll be all right. We'll sort it out. And so I did this nice guitar. I thought it fit and it went okay. And they said, just send us your invoice. And so I didn't know how much to charge, So I called up a mate of mine who does this and he said, normally about $200 for a session or something like that, I'm like, yeah, okay. So I put in $180 and they just freaked. They're like,
it's too much.
$180. Oh yeah, no, they wanted it for like $20 or something like that. A live fucking recording. That's why real estate music
Go and
sucks.
buy one off the net. They're not cheap.
No.
I thought
Fucking hell.
$200 sounded cheap.
Yeah, well,
That sounded really cheap.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not put that in for anything under $1,000.
No, that's what I was thinking straight away. $1,000 easy.
fucking A. That's
Do they know who you
and
are?
then let them complain after the
Obviously.
grand.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
go, all right, $800. All right.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, step there. let them push it back. But that was my experience. And also, it's a strange thing. You know, it's a completely new footing. It's really great. How I write songs is always on the guitar first. So you hit a chord shape that's interesting, and then hopefully you repeat that enough that people that are looking at you, if they had been in a room, think you're insane because you've done this like 1,000 fucking times, and then a lyric might jump in my head.
Yeah.
You know, and then if the lyric comes, then I'm all right. For me, it's always lyrics is the hardest thing. That's why I've got a notebook, and if we have an interesting conversation, there might be a turn of phrase. I steal that turn of phrase anywhere, man. You know.
Yeah. The best lyrics I ever got were from our drummer, who wrote this poem about his brother that passed away.
Oh yeah,
and it just fit this song. I was like, the song wasn't good enough for the words that he put down because you could tell it was from somewhere deep.
Yeah.
Never forget that. Never wrote a song in his life. Couldn't write anything to save his life, but wrote this fucking poem. It was great.
True expression of emotion.
That's correct.
This thing called language, which music maybe predates language. We don't know where language really came from, but I think the way, if you see people with Parkinson's and that can't move, but if they put on a tango, they can fucking dance. You know, so it probably predates. Music might have come first. You know,
I think mushrooms came before.
Well, maybe music was before the mushrooms. You know,
food of the gods.
Well, if you think about it just from a point of view of learning what sounds mean. You know, from watching a baby grow up for a start, literally they can't do anything at the beginning. Their brains are being wired as they're laying there and listening to these sounds, and gradually the brain makes sense of the sounds that are happening. And then attach the emotional element to it, like when they find out what mum means. And so that emotion. So I'm always fascinated at how language works. And how musical it already is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because every word is not something that we have to think about. Once you've learned a language, you don't have to think about those words as being a word anymore. It's an emotional trigger. It's an emotional trigger, basically. As we speak to each other, we're sending emotional triggers into each other's heads.
Through the vibrations of the air.
That's right. And the body is creating chemical reactions in our brains to make us feel what the other person is saying.
That's
it's
right.
fucking insane, man.
That's what.
Is there anything in physics that can comprehend it? I don't think there is. You know, like this whole mechanical world view is just fucking wrong. There's nothing. You know,
cheapens that.
We've got 26 letters, and we can convey an infinite amount of information in 20. Like tonight, there was conversations had that have never been happened before in the history of the world. It's fucking insane. Every time we do this.
What about on infinite universes?
That's a load of that's
you don't believe
that's
in
fucking bollocks, man. It comes from people that just have really bad information. Well, not bad ideas. We'll get into electric universe later, but
bad conversations.
I love how we can hook him with anything.
But with the babies, like they actually, you know, because Vinny's just starting to talk now, and you know, I've read a lot of Chomsky about, you know, he did all his language research on babies, you know, and they don't learn a language. He was saying, that's his great thing. It's like you don't grow an arm, your arm appears. Like you don't think about it. He actually mathematically worked it out. They can learn like 3 or 4 words a day, like on one hearing. Wow. That's why 2-year-old Swiss kids can speak 5 languages.
Isn't it up to a certain age too, and then they lose that ability?
There's normal plasticity, but there's not enough input for the baby to learn that. Like Arlo or Vinny, he's only 2. Like by 2-year-old, they already know the grammar. Well, they can't vocalize it, but our grammar. When you actually look at the mathematics of how our grammar works in a sentence, they're fucked. Like it's not. It goes pretty deep, but there's way too much information that can be conveyed to a new computer, like a little baby.
Do you mean in English or in language?
All languages are the same. Yeah. Like that's another thing he discovered, that there's an innate, even sign language, man. It's all exactly the same. The principles of it. Yeah.
Well, Spanish is weird because you kind of put some words at the end. Whereas in English we'd put them kind of at the beginning.
I think most English is a weird one. I think most
that's languages, the hardest they say, isn't it?
Yeah,
one of the hardest to learn, English.
Yeah, well, I found it pretty easy.
It's fucking nothing.
I don't remember the study that I was listening to. I was listening to a podcast about some sort of study about language in babies that they were studying before they were born, and the fact that the baby would come out and before they could understanding the language, they already could recognise the meter.
Yeah.
So the
absolutely.
all the ups and downs of the sounds.
Yeah.
And that depending on what language and what country and stuff, those babies could at least understand the way that the sounds worked before they turned into
That's
words
right,
or
yeah,
consonants.
before it was obvious, like bottle and things like, So the rhythm comes, I noticed that when Reiki was learning his language, that he had the flow of a sentence without knowing any words.
Yeah.
They went up and down, and even the question was right, it went up at the end, like normal Australian talk.
Yeah.
And, but, so the rhythm came first, and then the words came later.
Yeah.
It's the flow that comes first.
Yeah,
you know?
he struggled for a long time, and then all of a sudden he was
That
just...
bomb,
just clicked.
This is my mate Colin, his friend. She didn't talk to her. She was 4 or something, really late. They thought, oh no, this kid's a late talker and all that.
Yeah.
And the first thing she said is, "Can you pass the tomato sauce, please?" Because no one was listening to her. You know, she was tapping and all that. Like she could fucking full on speak.
Wow.
She just didn't talk for
Just
40.
didn't want to.
Yeah, didn't need to or something like that. You know, so
Wow.
Speaking of bottle, have we got any more?
baby bottles.
No,
I got
there's
plenty.
burly,
Burly, big
burly,
How many is that?
big
3?
heads.
How long we been here? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, one more for me.
Big on taste, not on the belly.
That's
I
what
like
we
that
got.
one.
Yes. Hey,
Send us in a case for after, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
we'll have a few of these on April the 26th, is that?
Yeah, that'll be the Wednesday show. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be good, man. Be blood in the streets that night. Rampage in Canberra.
Yeah.
Are these full strength?
I think they're 4.
4.2.
So 2 in the first hour and 1 every
1.1
after that, I
standard
believe.
strength.
Would you like another one? Okay.
Oh, that's great taste.
That great taste. This is going great, man. It's really interesting.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah. What else we got? What else is going on in life? What do we got here? Should we sell the studio?
No.
No.
We just got in here.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Fair enough.
2 mil.
I'll t-
Unless
2
you
mil.
have to build us a pretty good one next.
No, it'd have to be a pretty awesome one, wouldn't it?
Like a old brain stack.
I don't
or
want
something.
to. But I was just thinking, it'd be
it's a good
nice
spot.
for the wife not to have to worry about working so much. You know,
Yeah, I think she loves it though.
when she's home, she has a couple of days off. She's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Love you, baby, but she just can't stop.
Yeah.
You know, I might sit down and have a coffee and just relax and listen to fucking YouTube or something just for 20 minutes and that, and she just cannot do it.
Yeah.
Man.
And you feel bad because...
And she's up vacuuming. Don't worry about me. I'm going all right. I'm like, Jesus, go to work for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
You haven't got the rhythm of this daddy daycare thing sorted out.
This is not the time for vacuuming. This is our
Yeah.
coffee and YouTube time.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the kids, they fall over. You can tell. Is it a proper fall? That's a bullshit fall. And then she's straight out there. And then Vinny loves it. That's what mums are supposed to do, That's why I think maybe daddy dad care is probably the way to do it, because dads are a little bit more aloof,
relaxed,
you know?
more
Like,
Yeah, he's going to learn from that one.
yeah, absolutely. It's when they go really quiet and you think, that was a bit loud, you can tell. A couple of times I've run.
Except for Arlo.
No, well,
You know,
Even
when
with
he
him,
screams,
he screams
just-
over anything,
Oh
that
my
kid.
god!
Yeah.
It's like he's missing an arm.
And this weird thing is, then he just got his tonsils and adenoids out a couple of weeks ago, and I thought this kid is going to lose his shit, because if he stubs his toe, it's the fucking end of the world.
Yeah.
No, it was a breeze. They didn't even fucking worry about it because it actually really hurt. So, it's funny. But I not to pay my kids out, but I was exactly the same when I was a kid. Mum was really, I just pretend to be sick and Mum would give me cuddle. I remember it, man, so I can hardly complain. It was mean.
He wants them cuddles, eh?
Yeah, who doesn't like a good cuddle?
Yeah. So, what did you like? Going on the road for long periods of time. Did you enjoy that, or? Yeah.
There's a thing about it that I didn't know, and I guess you don't know until you get into that mode, and it'd be like anything that you're traveling through lots of space all the time. But there's a momentum behind that, and with Tommy's tours, they move super fast. So
one after the other
one after
shows?
the other,
Yeah.
night after night after night in different cities.
Yeah.
And traveling on a tour bus is a lot of fun because you don't have to pack any gear up.
Yeah, that's great.
You go in and all of your focus is on the performance.
Yeah.
And so that was dream life.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to tour on the tour bus until maybe 5 years into the stay in Nashville, and we did a tour of Midwest, and
So with the shows with Tommy, were you doing your own show, then coming on and playing with Tommy, or were you part of Tommy's show?
No, well, a little bit of both. He always liked to bring his opening act because I was the opening act.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd play my set, usually 40 minutes, and then I'd go out and talk to everyone in the break and sell these plastic things. And
still good though.
Did really well out of that, and then would then hang out and just wait because his set list was never the same.
Okay.
And hang out until I knew that the cue was that a song that he wanted me to get on and play or sing with him or anything like that. And it was always different. So really the job was to be yourself as the artist out the front and do that thing. And actually one of the key things that I asked him when I first met him was, why did you get me on the road?
Yeah.
Because I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm not a guitar player. And he goes, I play guitar pretty well. Yeah, that's right. He said, I've got that covered.
Absolutely.
So he thinks about the whole show.
It's a show, from start to finish.
That's right.
What does he do before a gig? Is he out the back benching?
He plays
200 kilos, or
he plays and plays. He restrings his guitar before a show
every time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right, and then he does meet and greet before a show, and that would take it out of me.
Oh, absolutely.
As a vocalist, I think it's a thing because you're talking. Talking is the worst thing you can do as a vocalist, because that just kind of buggers it all up. But he talked about, and I asked him about that as well, because I wondered how he wasn't drained by that interaction at the beginning, but he actually gets charged by it. He uses the meet and greets at the beginning of shows to understand what the room is like.
Yeah.
And he gets takes a measure of the emotion that might be there and what people are going through in the area. So when you're passing through different cities and different places, there are things that are going on in that part of the world that you can pick up on by
the steelworks closed down or something like that.
Things
what a great
does he choose the songs then to suit the gig?
He then chooses the songs as they come to him.
That's so clever.
As they come to him. And as they come to him is pretty much dictated by the way that his whole interaction has happened with the audience. It's very, very clever, but it's not a clever thing. It's a natural thing.
Yeah. I think the first time I ever seen Tommy Emmanuel play was on Hey Hey at Saturday with fucking Nathan Cavalieri.
He's playing at the Heritage, I think.
Is he? Does he want to come on the fucking Panda experience?
I'm sure he'd want to.
I reckon he would.
He'd be mad not to, really.
No.
He probably would.
Yeah. You know Nathan?
I've done a couple of things with him. When he was
there's a child prodigy type thing, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was only really young when he was on Hey Hey, like maybe 8. I'm really guessing this is a long time ago, but
so when
maybe older.
When I was in Sydney doing
20.
stuff, we'd done a lot of stuff for the rugby league as vocalists and in the halftime sort of stuff. And there was a few gigs where he came on and we went into the studio and we did different covers for those things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I met him back then, and then pre-COVID, I was down in Melbourne, and I did a festival where he was on as well. So it was cool.
Smoking guitar player? Because I've never actually seen him.
It's great. His new songs are amazing.
Are they?
I haven't heard.
Really great. Really digging in, and his band is fantastic.
I think Kane's playing 1920 are opening for him, or maybe Kane is.
Great.
Yeah,
have to look him up on Spotify. I haven't heard.
Well, Tommy's because I consider myself an acoustic guitar player rather than any other type, and he's just the pinnacle, I don't know, like Muhammad Ali or something like that. If you're going to boxing, he's like a perfect machine, and there's other great boxers in that, without a doubt in that, but it's like if you're going to pick a female singer, you might pick Aretha Franklin or something like that as the level.
Yeah,
and I think once you find great guitarists, they can all once they get to a certain technique, they're all fucking good, and then it's a matter of choice who you prefer or don't. You don't have to prefer any of them,
right,
they're all great, but and it seems like a phenomenal, nice guy as well. Every interview I've seen seems great,
but he's all of that. He's the kind of guy who carries an extra $500 in his wallet so he can give it to the people on the street.
Fucking good on him.
He does that constantly.
That's fucking awesome.
Amazing person. And, it was wonderful to be able to see show after show after show, because then you get to see his operating, where he operates.
Yeah.
Right? So he's incredible. And his game is here all the time. But then within that game, he has this. And so when you get him on one of those nights where he's
just smoking,
there's no ceiling,
no one can touch you,
and it's like, whoa! And then you talk to the sound guy, and you're like, dude, what the hell happened tonight? It's like the roof's off tonight. You know,
great. Does he record
really
every show?
No, not necessarily. No.
Oh, it's a buggy. You want to catch those ones?
Yeah. Where does he live now?
Nashville. That's why I moved to Nashville.
Oh,
the gig was. The American move was otherwise I probably would have went to LA or something, because that would have been more my vibe because of the first record I released. But Nashville was the first port of call for us because that's where Tommy lived.
Yeah,
and lives.
How many, like for that first tour, how many shows do you reckon you did?
I'd probably be able to tell you if I look back at that, but I think it was probably about 30. Or 30.
Because he's packing places out as well. I jumped online and did you play the Grand Ole Opry or anything like that? They seem like really nice theatres.
I didn't play the Opry.
Yeah.
The Grand Ole Opry is a radio show.
Oh, is it? Right? Okay, yeah.
And traditionally it was like a live radio performance, and then the bands would come on. And I think it was one of the first, like way back in the day, and they still operate it like that. And so the artists that they get on are like chosen for their particular style. Yeah, it's not a concept. There at the Opry, but and I haven't been a country artist, so it wasn't my
well, that's
thing.
what I wanted to talk to you about, because my mate Matt, he's in Corey Legg's band, and Corey's sponsored by Cole Clark and that as well, and he's a singer songwriter. He's not really country, even though he's from the country, but it seems to be in Australia, country is almost where it's at. Like there's a lot of people, I know a lot of artists that are they're not necessarily writing country songs, but they have a country element, maybe a bit of steel in that, and they can get into Tamworth. And it seems the country element in Australia is where, I don't know, where you can make a living or something almost. Like I know a lot of indie songwriters now switching over to do country. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
well, there's a structure there, and there are gigs there associated with it, and it's sort of, I mean, the Australian population is small compared to many other places in the world, and so it can't support all the different genres.
Yeah, and it's so spread out.
It could if people would really support the music that they loved and went out to hear musicians.
Well, I think maybe after COVID they will. Like I am. Yeah. I'm going to every fucking gig there is. I don't care. I'm going to go now. I know what it's like not to have the ability to go, and I'm just going to go.
And every fight that Mark's in.
He's not going to be in too many more. He's not just going out. Then he's going to stick here and become our Adonis for the Smack Panda crew.
But it is you do miss live music.
Fucking hate
it. I went all the time. When we had Evie, we probably pulled up a bit, but that's the one thing we miss, and we've already talked about. Like once they're that little bit older now, so we want to start getting back to gigs because it's fucking awesome. It's the best thing to go and do.
It is.
Yeah,
go to a bloody restaurant. They're cool, like as an ex-chef and all that.
In and out, mate.
Restaurant isn't entertaining. No. It's fucking boring. Degustation for 7 hours.
I don't think we've never sat there for longer than 30 or 40 minutes.
I remember I took Hayley to She Hard, the Kiwi rock metal band, and they were. I mean, the first show I saw of theirs was in New Zealand back when they were just hitting, and they were fucking great. And one show was that, I remember one part of it, my head was in the big cone speaker getting knocked around. It's amazing I can hear any fucking thing, And
that was where all the damage was.
That's right. But there's a couple of things here. I think, growing up in New Zealand, I'm an Aussie now, or Anzac, and but they do support the arts a bit better there. They've got a 10% New Zealand content on everything, anything on TV or radio. If you ever watch New Zealand artists, the video will be sponsored by New Zealand on air. Like the government, you have to protect your culture. You don't have to do it with guns and shit. You have to do it with money into the arts. Yeah.
Just on that, was there any COVID relief for musicians?
There was fuck all.
There was none, was there?
Not really specifically for musicians.
Just an ABN
or even the venues. Yeah, it was just if you were a contractor and if you had a good year the previous year, you were all right.
No, it was pretty. I think they talked a lot of talk with that, but fuck all the money hit the ground. We can ask Kane about that, So
there was, different pockets, and I think all of the usual suspects got, what they got.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they really supported the industry that existed.
Yeah.
So
well, hopefully, I'm optimistic that it's going to get reborn bigger and brighter.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the laws changing in Sydney for nightlife and stuff, that's fantastic.
It is.
Which is actually quite funny because when I left, Sydney was great. It was amazing. And when we came back, we're like, what's all these laws and stuff?
Yeah.
We heard about all that coming in and just killing the nightlife and killing all the live bands and all the great spots that used to be there.
And shutting businesses down, okay, a couple of kids got killed and that was fucking terrible, and it was, but put more police on the fucking streets, man,
And they were individuals, really. They were individual things that would happen. It's not like a massive thing.
There's a couple of assholes walking around.
Stop being fuckwits. It's not that hard.
That's right.
Fucking
That's it.
Yeah, but they'd cut the beat walking cops in King's Cross by 30 or 40. This was down 20% to what it used to be.
Okay.
So there was a lot of other things they could do. Before killing all these businesses.
But I mean, a lot of it was about real estate and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was all the big turnover of real estate, and then all of a sudden they were like, what happened to our culture? What happened to our city? There was this, amazing pumping place that people would come to and celebrate.
Yeah. But it's going to come back.
Yeah.
And it's going to start here. Smack Panda Podcast.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right here. This is where
yeah.
it's at. If tonight's anything to go by, I think we're going to be all right.
I think so.
Yeah.
So what are your future plans? Just hang in Wollongong and grow the scene?
I love this city, man. Wow, what a great place.
It's all right, isn't it? Yeah.
Kind of found it by accident. Well, I'd passed through it a bunch of times, but had my family moved from the country way down the south coast, sort of Husky and
beautiful,
even better spot.
Right. And then when we were basically looking at the map of Australia, going, all right,
we're going back. Where are we going to go?
What do you want to do? And I was like, well, we're moving back for family. Right.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. We need to be close to cousins and grandparents and stuff. But I also don't want to be too far away from an international airport. So Wollongong just looked like the perfect spot.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be an incredible spot to live, so close to the beach and not too crazy busy.
No.
Yet, I guess.
Well, that's why it's blowing up now because with COVID, a lot of the Sydney siders come down and like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
Look at this place. They call this traffic. This ain't traffic.
Yeah.
And hence the issues of house prices maybe at the moment.
Yeah.
But it was going to happen, so it is a really good spot. And we just got to get the culture happening a bit.
So I'm hoping that they're sort of predicting a bit of a dip, right?
In house prices?
Yeah.
Well, you think it has to.
Yeah.
Well, where's it going to go?
It's like the
because wages haven't gone up.
It's like
it's Fugazi.
Where's someone's going to run out of money at some point?
Yeah.
Well, the banks are just printing.
We'll run out of money. Well, no, it's cool.
Trying to get a fucking 3-bedroom.
18 million for that 3-bedroom in Berkeley.
Bullshit.
Well, I like what your wife said, and she goes, it's not. She said it's not house prices going up; it's your money becoming deflated.
Yeah,
I think that's where it's
true.
at. The money is hence the Bitcoin.
Worthless.
It's becoming less.
Oh, look at that little segue. He fucking loves
There's
that.
not one episode we haven't segued Bitcoin.
No. He's a Bitcoin enthusiast. This one.
Oh, really? Tell me.
If people had listened to me, like 3 months ago, they would have bought it at 20 grand. It's 70 grand now. You would have made 50 grand. People, you just listen to me. And it's not about the money. It's about trying to put.
It sounds like it's about the money every week.
What do you think?
Money.
So you're investing in Bitcoin?
I don't want to say now because it's worth too much. But back then,
let's just say
I might have
a
been
few
into
coins.
it.
Right.
Yeah. So as I got into it maybe 3 years ago, and I thought, this might be it. It wasn't. Actually, it was never about making money. I actually started reading up about educating myself about what money was.
Satoshi.
But even before him, I just realised this. I was taught a lie growing up, and we all were. I was taught at school in New Zealand. We got a little post book, and we saved our dollars. And they said, for every $1 you get, you can take that to a bank, and they'll give you a tiny bit of gold. and that's called the gold standard. And so your money's worth something. That gold standard
Not anymore.
hadn't existed since 1972. I was born in 75. They were teaching me a lie.
Oh, wow.
There hasn't been a gold standard since 1972. Nixon took it off because America went bust over the Vietnam War. They couldn't afford to pay for the bill, as the Romans did and all that. So and basically they've been printing their way out of trouble ever since. And that's why house prices are, our money's actually deflating, not the house prices going up. Because if you pump all this crap into it's crap money, and what actually happens, the stimulus money doesn't go to people on the bottom who might spend it. It actually goes to banks who buy back their shares, and it's about propping the share market up. So the world economy is at an all-time low. Everyone knows it. There's been less and less. Economics is about movement of stuff to people and that. Less and less going on. There's less businesses starting and all that. There's monopolies everywhere.
Plenty of empty warehouses everywhere.
Fucking A there are. And yet the share market's as high as it's ever been. Now the share market should be a kind of standard on how the world economy's going, but it's completely detached from fucking reality because they get all their money printed from the US Federal Reserve. Yeah. And Australia does it, New Zealand does it. It's called quantitative easing, which is what the Germans call money printing, And so when I understood or started to understand, it took me years to figure out. I just couldn't believe that when I got a mortgage, the money never existed.
Yeah.
Like, I thought they went to international markets to get the money, and that's what they said. They fucking don't. The money, they just put the money in my account.
The numbers in there.
Yeah. When I pay it back, those money, it gets disappeared off those negative digits. But then they take interest. So what the banks are actually doing is taking money out of society, because they invent this free money, but you got to pay it back with fucking interest. And with a Visa, they invent Visa money as well. You pay it back with 20% interest. So there's a major problem with putting money into the system. And so and then this fucking Bitcoin came out, and some uber fucking genius saw the problem.
Or geniuses.
Genius.
Or genius.
Genius eye? It wouldn't be is, would it?
I don't know.
It would be genius as a plural, like sheep.
Genies.
What about a
I love it. The genies did it.
So anyway, these fucking genies saw what was going on. And rather, they did my favourite human of all time is a guy called R. Buckminster Fuller, who's an American architect he was born in the 1890s and he died in the 1970s, and he just was the greatest human ever lived, I think. He wrote a book in the 1960s called Operation Manual for Spaceship Earth. He's called the Godfather of Green. He said, look, we've got all these resources going in the wrong places. Everyone on this planet can live fucking like pharaohs without destroying the planet if we just follow. He wrote the book on how to run the world. And it's where the Greenpeace and all that might have got their idea from, But he wasn't a greenie. He was just an architect and an engineer and knew how to get things happening. And he said, if you want to change a system, you never change it from the inside. It won't work. What you do is you create a new system. Let's say there's two villages and they're always at war, and there's a big river, and every day there's a village and they've got to cross over this river, and people always die once a week and that. And then there's council meetings. What should we do about this river? You don't fucking go to council meetings. You don't do anything. You just build a fucking bridge. You don't have to talk to anyone. There's no politics. The bridge gets built. People use the bridge because it's a better system. They move from one system to another. That's what's happening with Bitcoin. Someone came along, used that idea of creating a new monetary system. Fuck the other system. We won't bother using it. And they created a new monetary system. And now JP Morgan just came out, the world's biggest bank, and said it looks like Bitcoin's going to become the new international settlements layer for all countries. So 70 grand is like 2% of where it's going. So it's going to become because the thing with Bitcoin, no one owns it. So you don't have to trust that the Federal Reserve won't kick you off like they did Iran and Venezuela.
They can't fucking print.
They can't do anything. They can't stop it. So if I'm trading with you, and if you look at Nigeria where no one has any bank accounts because they can't get birth certificates, people in Nigeria are the biggest Bitcoin users in the world because you can use a millionth of a Bitcoin. So they're buying bananas with Bitcoin because they've all got mobile phones. So if you've got a mobile phone, you've got a Bitcoin bank account. So the change is happening. It's not... and it's still getting portrayed as drug dealers and all this type of shit, like they did with the internet.
Well, that's
the
how it started, wasn't it? It grew in popularity because a lot of drug dealers were using it, and that's Silk Road. But have you heard
Silk Road? Yeah,
there's a new movie out about Silk Road.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, it sounds fucking really good.
They were just
I don't know what it's out on yet.
They
were young. There was three of them, wasn't there? A young guy and his girlfriend and another dude, and they just wanted to sell whatever you want to sell. Like guns, drugs, mostly.
Guns are such a good
and they were using Bitcoin was how they were
Yeah.
exchanging.
But Bitcoin's
goods.
not really the best thing for illegal things. The US dollar is untraceable, whereas, and that's where all the real drug deals get done. But yeah, because...
But now he's got life, that guy, doesn't he? For fucking...
Yeah.
For having this black market operation thing.
And so you could safely buy drugs without going to the mafia. You can't do that.
And
You
that-
know,
they had a...
But isn't Bitcoin like Bitcoin because it's traceable?
It kind of is traceable. You know, you need a lot of computing power and all that, but it's all on a distributed ledger, which is shared all around the world. It's the whole point. So we're all sitting here, and I give you some money, and we all agree that I gave him some money, and it's all on our ledgers, so that works. And then you give him some money, and that's all it is.
It's like a massive record.
It's a massive record
transfers.
of everything that goes. That's why it takes a lot of computing power to do.
That's why I always didn't understand how it could operate so happily in the black market, and
It's not very good for the black market. Like, it's just everything is on every single transaction that ever happened is on the ledger.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's not
There's trails.
it's not the best. If you're going to buy a nuclear bomb, don't do it with Bitcoin. or
Do
something,
it with
you know.
cash.
Do it with the US dollars, man. That's where all the drug dealers are getting done. So anyway, that's my Bitcoin spiel. But it's a lot deeper than people think. And there's a change. It's like we didn't realize in the 90s what the internet was. It was a
Yeah.
bit of a fad. I remember first seeing people when I was living in Queenstown. It would have been 97 or something. Maybe 96, and these people are on computers. I'm like, what are they doing? And they were emailing. And what the fuck's an email? You know, and it was, 20 years ago or something. And we didn't realize at the time. Then you had the .com crash where what happened with the companies, they put .com after their name and their share price went up 200%. Because everything, or .com, because no one knew what the internet was, but .com's really good. And that's the same thing that's happened with cryptocurrencies. We're a cryptocurrency, we're worth $1 billion. There's only one cryptocurrency that matters, and it's Bitcoin. It's true. You know, you don't put money into anything else, man. They're all you might make some money out of them, but they're not a safe bet. Neither's Bitcoin, but it's as safe as you're going to get in this market, I think. So, yes, there we go. That was a big spiel, wasn't it?
That was a good one, that.
So, yeah, it's not just a nerd.
have you got a ka-ching sound? Ka-ching.
We need to add some new sounds, I think.
Yeah, there we go. That's the
So
next,
can you buy your album with Bitcoin?
with Bitcoin.
Well, shit, I don't know.
I'll take a Bitcoin for it.
I'll take one.
So you
Just
got-
one.
you got
Yeah,
four
the single
albums?
Bitcoins.
Do you have 4 albums out now?
I do, yeah. They're all on all the free streaming things, so you can get them everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't make any money out of them at all.
It's crazy, man. I think we
That
made,
is shit.
I think we made 50 cents. Not even that much. Might be 5 cents.
From your album?
Adam bought our album and he paid it on Amazon.
$16.99, I think it was.
And I got $2 and he paid $16 cash, you know, and I got $2 as the fucking artist.
That is bullshit, isn't it?
That's worse than what the record companies used to do to Led Zeppelin. It's right,
Yeah.
man.
So Apple are the new...
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
The record company, yeah. They
Dirty
fucked up.
dogs.
They didn't see the technology changing. They should have jumped on. Why does a computer company get to control?
They control everything now.
Yeah,
Apple.
that's true, to control everything.
But the labels aren't silly. Like all the big ones are now invested.
Yeah,
and also all of the income is not. You can't see it. It's not transparent, and so
Yeah.
you know a lot of the deals are done with streaming, and you don't know what the splits
Yeah.
are. I think that again the independents have got nothing, and
Yeah.
all the major label acts have got all of the.
That's right.
And in fact, not even the acts, just the executives.
Yeah.
Because then internally, those deals that they do with the record with their artists, and like, I forget who it was that said it, but it was like every time I investigate my record label, I find money.
Yeah.
that they owe me, and not little bits of money, like money, considerable
yeah,
money every time.
Where do you do your recordings at?
Most of my recordings have been done in different project studios in Nashville, but also here. I used my first record was made at Love Hurts Studios in Sydney, and since then, just recording in lots of different places in Nashville because every house is a studio over there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and
Is it all different sort of genres over there?
There are, yeah. There's a whole mixture of
Because
genres.
I just think country, like...
Well, that's right. That's the brand that Nashville was built up around.
Yeah.
And and they have all of the awards nights and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And there's definitely that's the heart and soul of country music in America, and that's warranted. But in Nashville itself, as a music town, there's all sorts of genres. There's bars where you can go and see metal and there's all sorts of R&B and everything that you can imagine is all there because it's just a music melting pot.
Yeah, wow.
And the crowds come out to see the shows as well.
And there are people. There's people everywhere.
Yeah, that's so good.
People
Sounds
everywhere.
like fucking paradise, man.
It's incredible.
Wow, got to go.
We need that here.
Well, yeah, we do. How do we get it, man? How do you build up something like that? Like it's about building the culture and building good soil for these plants to grow in. And how do we get people off the fucking iPhones or something and out to gigs?
Well, no, and I think it's just create a scene.
That's it.
Yeah,
and I think that scene exists around the creatives that are in the place at the time, and there's plenty of creatives here that can make stuff like that happen.
Yeah,
and I think they've just got to get to know each other. Like,
absolutely.
The whole point of bringing people out, and I mean the fact that I met you guys, right?
Yeah,
came out of the whole thing. You heard the radio interview, and then the streaming, the Illawarra songwriter.
Absolutely. And I think also not being exclusively with musicians, any creatives, and honestly, all humans are creative, man. That's what
they really are.
That's what keeps us going. You know, like you realise as you get older that it's all about creating shit. If you need to do something you can be proud of, the 2-year-olds know it. They show you a picture. It's my picture, and it doesn't fucking change.
That's right.
We've got to put something out there.
That is exactly right.
Man, this has been great.
Yeah. Are you do you have plans to gig anytime in the near future?
I've been doing a couple of things with the Vault at Port Kembla. Talking
they got a good sound rig there, man.
They
it's
do,
smoking.
yeah. And they've actually asked me to give them a date to put together a show there, and it'll be a door deal and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not sure whether I really want to do that because I don't know anyone here, and nobody knows me. All of my investment in promotion was all done overseas, so I'm no one knows what I've done in Australia, which is fine because I haven't done any investment here at all.
Yeah.
So putting on a show and having no one show up is probably not the best thing to do, but but it's a small venue, so it's kind of nice to.
What about up at the servo? Maybe jump on because
I haven't met those guys yet.
The two ladies, they're absolutely lovely, man.
Great.
The sound. Now they've moved the stage outside, it's great.
Yeah.
And my mates, Matt plays with Murray from the Wiggles, and they.
Oh, that's right.
The Soul Movers. They played this, packed it out, had a great show. So.
What does he play?
He's a bass player.
Does he play the double bass?
No, he can play the double bass, but his main P bass normally, and he is smoking.
He's a good bass player.
Oh my God! Like he takes your song. If you need a bass player, you need Matt Crawford, man. He takes your song and he's got this ear, and then he does things with it
that Gravity, the demo, was
probably
the best bass playing I've heard in a long time.
Galaxy,
that's
yeah. Anyway, he's smoking, man, and now other people are recognising it, so he's kind of a bit of a wanted man. He might actually make a go of this music.
Ooh, good on him. Go for it.
I think bass players might have it a bit easier because everyone wants to be a guitarist or a singer.
But no one likes bass players, do they?
It's like the sexiest thing you could ever play.
Oh, yeah.
Holy smokes.
You slow that shit
bass
down.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny, as I'm getting older, I put the podcast on, or Haley did, in the car, and my Bluetooth's fucked. And it plays sometimes it plays things like 70% slower or something. And it played our intro slow. It's groovy slow, man. I think I prefer it. I'm going to slow the whole album down.
I'm going to do a death metal version of it soon.
A slow one.
No. It's going to be 230 beats per fucking blast. Over the top. We'll see how it goes.
Anthony, this has been a blast, man.
Yeah,
it's been great to talk to you guys. What a great hang! It's so funny. I told my wife I was working tonight.
You are working. Well, you got to get out there, man. This has been awesome. Thanks for coming along. You can come along again anytime. Do you want to play us a song?
Yeah, let's do it.
Why not?
Go for it.
Do you want to jam in on this one?
No.
Come on.
What key is it in?
E.
E minor or E major?
E major.
Okay.
I'll join you on backing vocals.
Yeah, right.
And then after that, if you want, I'll play you a ballad after this one.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sample. You gotta be so cold. 'Cause my baby's always cold. Right on the morning, right on the way, right on the night. And I write the songs, my friends, and I love until the end. I can't let you go, 'cause you know I like to feel. Oh, yeah, I like to feel. Whoa, yeah. Yeah, you wanna be, you gotta be so right. 'Cause my baby's always right around the mark, right on the way, right on the night. Yeah, and I write the songs, my friends, and I love until the end. I can't let you go, 'cause you know I like to feel. Alright, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. But I can't let go. I just wrap my arms around you. Oh, take it away now. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa, right. Ooh, yeah. Right. And I write the songs, my friends, and I love until the end. I can't let you go. No, I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. No, I won't let you go. Oh, no, I can't let you go. Oh, no, I won't let you go. No, 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 I can't let you go. Oh, I won't let you go. No, baby, no, baby, I can't let you go. 'Cause you know I like the feel. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
What a voice, man. That's great.
Beautiful.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for coming on, bro. That was awesome.
No worries.
Thanks, man.
That was sick.